What is up, Deuterinos, and welcome back to another episode of the Game Addicts Podcast, the show. We're talking about the modern retro video games that we play and collect. I am your podcast player, Brando, and it is the return of the prodigal son, the one and only, the incomparable Mike. How you doing, bud?
Good. How you doing?
As I take a sip of my tea, I know I'm doing pretty good. And so Mike's been away for a little bit. He's been doing his thing. I've been doing my thing, you know. So it's a nice little catch-up episode here. We actually have some stuff and really cool stuff to talk about and catch up. But before we get into that, we have a really cool surprise third host of today's show. Did you know that, Mike?
No.
Well, I would hope you would because...
Okay.
No, don't get your hopes up.
Okay.
Don't get your hopes up. Because you brought him. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Mike's Mustache.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to do...
You got me excited. I was about ready to be
sorry,
like, oh.
I'm sorry. Nope. We're not quite... Nope. I'm sorry. At the moment you started getting excited, I started thinking, man, I shouldn't have made that joke. I shouldn't... I should not have led into the mustache joke as a surprise. No, guys. It's been a little bit since Mike's been here on the show. We did last year... We did the FF7 remake teardown, and we also did Last of Us Part 2. Today is kind of just a catch-up episode. He's been playing some stuff. I've been playing some stuff. We got some cool stuff coming around the bend with some pretty cool news in the gaming world. But before, I don't know if I've actually shared my story on this podcast. I don't know if I have or not. I may or may not have, but I'll kind of repeat it if you guys want to fast forward a couple minutes. Because... for the longest time, I couldn't get a hold of a PS5. A lot of people still can't get a hold of a PS5. It's hard to get a hold of. They still are. In fact, they're getting ready to redesign interior parts of the PS5 to make it easier to manufacture. But it doesn't really change any sort of. They're not going to change the outside to make it smaller. But
the question is it compromise computing power?
From what I understand, they were able to make a few modifications to just go, you know what, this will be easier for us to produce, and it has no downturn.
Okay.
So, hopefully, I mean, there's always that chance that you could come around at a different point and have problems, Oh, crap, we did this, and this is unforeseen. There's always unforeseen problems. But, a buddy of mine, Hank, helped me get a PS5 back in March. I was so excited. And then literally 3 days later, my 4K TV broke.
Yeah, I remember that.
That TV that I bought specifically a year in advance to have a 4K TV. If I'm going to have a system that's really capable of 4K, why would you not then be it's one thing because I have the PS4 Pro. It can do, 4K. I have the Xbox Series X or not Series X.
4K.
The One X, okay, it can do 4K. So the cool thing about it is I was able to finally get a different one. I do enjoy the TV. However, there's some finicky things with it. It's a Vizio, and every once in a blue moon, I'll turn it on, and
Which one did you get? The 80?
I got a 55 Vizio M series.
M80? Because you got the M80 and the M90. The M90 is super.
I didn't get that one. No. I was on a
1500.
No. This one was 600.
Oh,
maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
So no. I did my homework again, just like the other TV. So the other TV, I actually did a teardown of that TV. Turned out it was probably an LCD board, a bad board. and it went bad, and it just went, and it was like 3 or 4 months post 1 year warranty. So I bought the extended protection when I got this new one for sure. I went ahead and did it because I'm not getting screwed like that again. But whereas I see definite pluses to my old TV, having played some other stuff that is in 4K resolution, this one is performing just fine. It even it has like a variable refresh rate, so I'm seeing some more constant. Anyway, so I've had a PS5 for a little while. I've only played one real PS5 game at this point. I could have bought another one, but I chose not to, and so that's where we're going to get into to begin the show. I am enjoying the PS5. I think it's a good system, and it's going to be very interesting to see where we're kind of be going as the time goes on. However, I had a decision to make. We for a long period of time this year, we really haven't had a whole lot of games coming out. You can blame that on certain things going on in the world that affect everybody, because that also affects game development. But it's been pretty quiet. A couple little games here and there. The new Pokemon Snap. Okay, cool. Whatever.
I never liked the original. So.
You know what? It's like a weird on-rail shooter where you just take pictures. There's a market for it. My kid
That's all that matters.
My kid wants to play it, and I'm just like, I don't want to spend $60 on it.
And it won't go down. You can guarantee Pokemon Snap's going to be over $50 for the next year and a half.
Literally, the only Mario game that's like under $30 is the Mario and Rabbids game developed by Ubisoft. It wasn't made by Nintendo. So, and I believe it was like around, I don't know, like the April and March, there was a sale, and it was the cheapest non-Black Friday deal for Mario Odyssey. Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
Okay, Mario Odyssey was $30 brand new for that week.
Holy crap.
Hold the press.
And very rarely does anything produced by a Nintendo home company ever go that low.
I know. It's so sad because
usually their sales are like $10 off.
Well, they wait so long to like get them into a Nintendo Selects or cheaper thing.
Yeah.
Like what, Mario Odyssey came out in 2017? Fall of 2017, that's when I got the Switch. So it was like that would have been
downstairs.
That would have been 4 years ago this year. Why is that not a greatest hits $20 catalog title now?
It's because they can run it. Why would you cut out your top runner?
Well, here's the thing. When people buy their Switch, like, oh crap, I need to get some games. They just keep selling more games. It doesn't matter how much. They don't care. Anyway.
62 million units sold.
Of the Switch?
Yeah.
It's higher.
That's last month.
It's higher. We are in the 80s. We are in the 80s now.
God, that's insane.
So really quickly here, because yeah, we talked about this at lunch one day, where it was like Nintendo.
Oh, we did.
Because
I'm sorry, I just watched the article. It's old, but the guy was talking about the Pro rumors.
Right, which we will be talking about in just a little bit. Oh, come on now. Come on now. Oh, wait, there it is. I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay.
Well, no, that's the list of best-selling games. I don't want that.
Mine's up. My phone's updated anyway. So.
Sold sales all time. There we go. I got my stuff. I wasn't prepared to talk about this, but we're going to talk about it. So the Nintendo Switch is at 84.59 million.
That's phenomenal for what it is.
They have surpassed the Xbox 360 numbers.
That's really good.
They are approaching the PS3. They're about ready to pass the PS3. The Nintendo Switch Lite has sold over 12 million.
They're doing. I tell you what, they've proven that there is a market for this.
The Wii U sold 13.56. So their Lite is about ready to surpass their entire generation of Wii U sales. That's just the Lite model, not The
Wii U, though, to be fair, was marketed terribly. And it was labeled so incorrectly. You shouldn't have said Wii U.
I know.
It's just like, I don't think the Switch should be the Switch Pro or whatever, Switch 2. Well, the Switch 2 would make sense.
It makes you wonder if since it's going to still be like kind of hey kid, we're talking about the Nintendo Switch in here.
That's why he's in there.
Well, that's why he's not. Hey, you talking about a Switch? I'll talk about a Switch. I wonder because you have like back in the day when you had you had the Game Boy Pocket, and then Game Boy Color. Those were kind of lumped into the Game Boy numbers, even though the Game Boy Color is technically a update. It has a little bit more punch to it. You had games, Game Boy Color games that you could not play on an original Game Boy. You had to have a Game Boy Color. So I wonder are they going to pull like the Xbox route, or does that even go this route? Because you have Xbox One, but also on the console sales, you don't see like, oh, here's the Xbox One sales, and now here's the Xbox One X sales, since it's a much more powerful. It's still in that same family of consoles. So
we just gonna roll into this. We might as well just
roll into it because we're talking about it.
Roll into it. So what I watched was that NVIDIA is now making a very specific chip for the Switch Pro or Switch 2, whatever you want to call it. Tentatively right now, everybody's calling it the Switch Pro.
The new Nintendo Switch.
The new Nintendo Switch Pro, Super Nintendo. What is it? New, super new.
Here's that picture I sent you the other day.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to remember. Anyways, but NVIDIA is now making its own graphics chip for it, which is cool. The rumors I saw is that they are looking at using the Sony OLED, which I've got one of those right over here that we said was the best looking handheld ever.
Yeah, on the Vita.
The Vita.
The Model 1s, yeah.
And then
the screen's going to be bigger. It's going to be the same size. It's going to be the same size, but the screen's going to be bigger. So it's going to fill out more of that front of that console.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
0.8 inches long, bigger.
So like it's going to be interesting to see how this goes, and it's going to be able to display 4K when it's docked, not necessarily render it natively, which
did you see that?
Yeah.
DLSS.
Yes. So apparently some of that basically what that means is that you're taking a resolution that is smaller, probably a 1080 when it's docked, and you're up-resing it to 4K. But the technology with up-resing has improved severely since just 4 years ago, to where some of these up-res resolutions of smaller resolutions are looking better than when the system has to natively render it.
And it renders it. So having an NVIDIA card in DLSS, it supposedly renders your frame rate 2 times faster. So looking at 49 to 60, it's almost 2 times. So if that's the case, that is very significant with that, if that's the case. Now, it doesn't make it look like super good. So like they took a picture of a game that was in regular and then the DLSS. So native 4K and then 4K with DLSS. And it actually, the images are clear, but you can see that they're not as high quality as the original 4K. So what I'm concerned about is if you're going to take a 1080p and then try to bring it up here, how's it going to look? Because without redoing every pixel.
Well,
you see what I'm saying?
I guess, is it going to be a big problem if you don't have them side by side? Because that's something that, you know, I've kind of said that even going throughout the years of comparing this model to this model, this, you know, especially like look at like all the different versions of base consoles we had for last generation, PS4, PS4 Pro, Xbox One, Xbox One S, Series X, or One X, all those different series, whatever it is, to sit there and like really like go the digital foundry route, you have to sit there with side by side and really nitpick them. But if you're just looking to sit down and play on your TV, is it going to look okay to you? And I think for most people, it's going to look fine and great. Could some games that my PS5 render in 4K, could they look better if I had a badass PC, or is the Series X even doing it a little bit better? Probably, maybe. But if I'm not going to have that comparison and I'm just enjoying my game,
you're not going to know the difference.
I'm not going to know the difference. And so I'm actually very excited to see what they can push out of this, because this is going to help keep the Switch in line with what's out now, not necessarily competing, because obviously they're not having a problem competing. They are not. People are buying this thing to play your Nintendo games and to bring some of those other games that are on the other systems on the road with you. I mean, even if it is only displaying in 720p, look at the sides of that screen and look how crisp that's going to look to you. And then you go home and dock it, and it's like, okay, here's some 4K, whatever the game I'm playing, and it's going to look just fine to you.
The guy I watched, he did a comparison. So currently, the current Switch has the same pixels as an iPad.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like 260. I want to say 264 to 294, something like that. So you can't really see the difference, but hopefully it's going to be about the same.
Well, okay. So the cool thing is, though, is that, like as you said, the pixel count, but then the iPad has a better display, so it pops more out at you, and it looks just super crisp. Whereas the Switch display obviously looks fine. It looks great, dude, for like just a handheld. But if they're switching to that OLED screen, it's gonna go. It's gonna be popping.
Yeah, he had a picture of like a 4K OLED phone, and then he had the Switch, and like you could totally see the difference in the color scheme. So.
And even if the Switch is still only displaying at 720, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be more focusing on playing your game anyway.
You're gonna have a cleaner picture,
exactly.
Switching from LED to straight up. OLED.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see if we're going to get that, and I honestly think that there are other companies who are making games that are more suited for the Pro. And so what I heard is that they're going to keep the Lite rolling and doing their thing, and they're going to eventually phase out the original model in favor of the new Nintendo Switch Pro and plus Knuckles and Super, whatever the new model's called, but. Eventually, that will become the new standard of Switch, and there's rumors that it's going to be revealed before E3, and that they either have started or will start production this summer to release in September. I don't know about that.
I wonder if that's picking up on the mic.
I did.
I just realized that
I heard that.
I have it my phone right underneath that.
It wasn't super loud. It's all right, but no, I think. We're going to have some Nintendo games coming out that are going to be more suited towards that. Probably the next Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel. If I were them, if you're looking at launching a new model of the Switch, that number one is going to replace the old model. So you're going to keep the Nintendo Switch sales rolling. In other words, if you release a new model now and you're not it's not going to be a whole new entry on that sales list. Now you're adding numbers to the original Switch number sale, so you're going to get over 100 million easy. But you have to convince now original Switch owners will be like, all right, why should I buy the new one? And they're like, well, check out how the new Breath of the Wild sequel runs on it. It's going to launch at the same time. And you're going to be sitting there going, Oh, by the way, and then about 6 months later, here's the new Donkey Kong. Oh, that's another rumor I heard. A new Donkey Kong game being made by the Mario Odyssey crew.
I did hear that too.
And so that's kind of neat, and hopefully they can kind of like revitalize Donkey Kong in a way that they did with Mario. But
Deep Freeze wasn't bad.
Yeah, Tropical Freeze. That's what it was. Tropical Freeze.
Yeah, Tropical Freeze.
No, I think it's funny because it was pretty hard. And then
it was old Donkey Kong, and it was just Donkey Kong.
But I mean, we still have Prime 4 coming around the bend. Some point.
Wait, we do? You think?
Maybe.
I haven't heard anything.
Hello.
Yeah, this here. Somebody freaking announced that to me and didn't follow through, Reggie.
Come on, Reggie. Reggie's like, all right, I did my job. I'm retired. I'm leaving. I'm going to go
teasing it with all his interviews wearing a Samus shirt.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm going to roll on over to GameStop and be there for 6 months, and then I'm going to step down from there, too.
And look what happened. He freaking raised the game stonk.
The game stonks.
He raised it. I mean, literally what happened. It went freaking ballistic on the market.
To the moon. It's been a crazy year.
Yeah.
But no, Nintendo's got some pretty cool stuff coming down the line, and I really think that there's also some third-party guys that are like, I think they're kind of in the know, but let's see, it's kind of hard because there's other people that I follow on Twitter who are game developers, who are probably smaller game developers, and they know nothing. They're being kept in the dark. I imagine some of their big partners are kind of in the know of what's going to be coming out, but
it's the way it should be,
right? But I mean. So there's going to be hopefully easier time getting a hold of a PlayStation. Nintendo might be coming out with a new console. The Xboxes are starting to show up in stores. The Series S's are starting to show up in stores. So I heard you can actually go to not every store, but they're starting to slowly trickle in. We're starting to get back to a form of normalcy in the world. Since the last time you and me talked, it's still not normal.
No.
AMC stocks just went through the roof for the theaters. So if you bought that when it was like $2 and now it's like $28, you're doing good.
Except they won't let you sell it other than 5 shares a day.
Yeah, right. Anyway, yeah, can't let. Hey, everybody who sees the Robinhood app now thinks I can make a ton of money on the stock market. And from what I never did it. I didn't want to get stuck into that because I'm the kind of guy who last year when all the sports started back up again, every other ad I got was for like MGM Sports Bet with Jamie Foxx. Yeah. And so it's like, some people have real problems. And even though the stock market is investing, I feel like the ease of access for apps for that, this is my own opinion, is kind of it can be addicting.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a form of gambling in a way. I mean, the stock market is gambling, but you are looking to try and follow trends. It's not like you're like trying to bet on a winner of a ball game or bet in a card game. You're looking at trends and trying to predict where it's going to go and invest your money to get a return. But then now that you have everybody and their sister on Robinhood and all of a sudden everybody is there, like everybody you talk to is like an expert at it. It's like I'm staying out of it. And they're like, oh no, you should buy some sundial. And then Will told me the other day like he's down like $300.
My thing with it is that it's great. Like we've been doing it back and forth. But the thing that I've noticed that is kind of trending is that when you're on Robinhood, there's another one. They do the same thing. That every time it turns a profit that's over 2 to 3 times what it was in a certain amount of time, they reduce the flow. So they make it to where you can't buy over 10.
Yeah. Or sell more than.
Yeah, hold on. Let me turn this down. I'm getting a lot of stuff.
Come raid with us, Mike.
No, that's not what it was.
Nah, I'm just teasing.
It's but they're eliminating the stock, the amount you can buy, the amount you can sell. So like we had Doge, and it doubled, and I was like, sell it now. Before, well then it bumped up to like 75 or whatever. Like we bought it at like 0.1 or whatever, and it went up to 0.7. Well, once it went past triple, you couldn't sell it no more. You could only sell so many. So we had tons and tons, like $500 of shares or something ridiculous. We could only share like $1 a day or like $10 a day is all I could sell. So am I really making that much money?
Well, because then with how unpredictable the market can be, literally Elon Musk goes on Saturday Night Live and makes a joke and Doge takes it down. So now like you're trying to sell this and get out of it, and now it's gone down even more.
Well, it's like I said, it's just basically when that boom hits and it scales up a certain amount. I mean, you can see it with what was it with GameStop.
Mm-hmm.
It literally went. It was what was it, like $2 or $7 or something, and then it jumped up to 100 and something. At one point, I think it was in the 250s.
Yeah,
Or something ridiculous.
it's high.
So when it did that bump, I understand that basically Robinhood buys these shares. You buy them from Robinhood, and they just don't have the money to give you.
Because everybody's trying to cash out at the same time.
Well, yeah. So they're like, "Oh crap, we can't give you any money." But the problem is like you invested it. That's the point of investing, is that quick turnaround. It is a gamble. But when you're like, "Oh well, you know what? We don't want," because I mean, in theory, us, the guys sitting at the computers, basically made that explode.
Yeah.
And then they're over here with their finger in the air going, "Yeah, look at me now." But you can't sell it. On paper, you're worth millions of dollars, but you can't physically hold it in your hand.
Yeah.
So what good is it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we kind of went off on a tangent there, but
yeah, we did. That's my thing.
No, it's fine because I had an opinion on it too. But no, new consoles, hopefully, new Switch, more availability maybe we talked about the stock thing that kind of happened this year, and then we're also having a big part problem with semiconductors.
Yes,
so that affects everybody, including our jobs, which don't even include that what we do that isn't even a big part of that, but we are affected because those semiconductors go into everything.
Well, so we don't use those semiconductors. We use a different one. But what's really hurting us is the restricted flow of goods through the docks. That's what's destroying us right now. So we're lucky, but other places are not so lucky whenever their backup cameras take 15 of those ships.
Yeah.
Like just a backup camera. It's like, holy crap, guys.
It's got to have that OLED display for that backup camera.
Oh, man. I don't know, but hopefully it gets better,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be upset to get another 2 weeks off right before our 2 weeks off.
Well, okay, here's the deal with that, though.
If we get paid. As long as we get paid.
Because that's a problem. That's a big problem. Because where we live, our state has decided we're done with that federal help.
Yep.
And
16th.
It's the week of the 19th. Yeah, so it's like starting that Monday, if you out of work, you're getting the regular 19th. Unemployment benefit. And see, we have been back to work for about a year now, and we haven't. No,
full time.
Well, the end of May.
We were off a little bit.
Well, we had the 8 weeks quarantine off, and we came back in May, and we didn't really have a whole lot of time off, but from last May until this year, until April, and then we had a couple weeks off that we had to take off. And we got paid for 1 week, and then we had 2 more weeks, and we got to do we were benefited because, as you said, the part flow is because of what's going on with COVID. Well, I don't want the 2 weeks off because I can't trust that I'm going to get the money that I need to support me and my family. And I'm like, fair. It's like if they're going to say, hey, sorry about you, this is what we got to do. I'm going to be out there delivering pizzas. I'm going to be doing something. Doing DoorDash. I'm going to be dashing my ass off. Let's put it that way. There's a reason. There's a reason why I had to pick a game to buy. Because I'm not really in a position where I can buy games. In fact, I've been in a position where I've been selling a few games here and there to make a little bit of extra money. Thankfully, I haven't had to sell anything like this bad boy. But I don't want to sell that, man. I don't want to sell that.
I got some stuff. I want to sell a lot of my retro stuff, but mine's more towards a specific goal.
Well, see, we have some goals too. But do you know how much?
Just for one graphics card.
Right. Well, okay. Right. I'm trying to get into a new house. You're trying to get yourself into a new badass. Do you know how much this? Do you remember how much I paid for this copy of Chrono Trigger, Mike?
Yes, I do.
I paid like $90 for it. 80, $90. complete in box. Not perfect. It's got a little fray on the edge. It's got some shelf wear. Okay. On the manual, it got one little corner. It's like I want to fold over, but okay, it's complete in there. And on average, that game goes for like $750. It has been as high as $800.
That would be hard for me to part with because
and I don't want. I can't. If I see it over $1,200, I'm gonna start itching and think about it because Mike. Oh damn! Silent Hill went down. So we were talking about stocks. Now we're talking about retro game stonks.
Gaming, yeah.
Retro
Pretty
game
much,
stonks. Because Silent Hill was at $200. Now it's at $158. So it went down. Pokemon Heart Gold, which I have, $184. But do you remember a long time ago you gave me the case to the DS version of Chrono Trigger?
Mm-hmm.
So now I have that complete in box, and you're such a nice guy for that. You know how much I like that game and how much that game means to me, and now that game's worth $100, complete box.
Wow. I think I bought it for what, like $20?
Yeah, $25. That's how much I got just the cart from GameStop back in 2011.
Yeah, I got it complete.
Yeah, you got it complete for about the same price. Yeah,
for about the same price, and I was like, look, this is your top. You're number 2. So let's just go ahead and swap it out with cases because it's not that big of a deal.
My loose copy of FF6 on Game Boy Advance is around $87 right now.
As I look over and say, how much can I get out of you boys?
Super Metroid on Super Nintendo.
I got that one. I don't.
I think you sold it already.
To Tim.
How much you sold it to Tim for?
$30. He bought like a bunch.
Right.
Like under 100.
He's your buddy. He just like you gave me that case, man. You're a really cool guy, and I really appreciate it. I'm not going to sell that copy because that's a better way for me to play that Chrono Trigger. It's a better way. It's easier than setting up my Super Nintendo. Anyway, I also want to say all these prices I'm saying doesn't mean you're going to get these. This is the average amount of what's being reported as being sold online. So eBay and Amazon and stuff like that. That was loud. And
really?
Did you hear that?
Sure. I think it was my foot. Here,
no.
You want me to recreate it?
Yeah. Okay. No. That was over there in my kids' room.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Well, it was thumping on my wall. Trust me, that something like that is going to bring a stop to this show. Okay.
No. You're watching him on your camera.
Dude, man, you know what? I don't know if I want to go into that right now, but because we're talking about...
Let's save that rabbit hole for us.
All right. Well, you already know that story.
I do.
They don't know that story. Anyway, fellas, no. If you want to put it on eBay and try to get that maximum amount, you can try. But the problem is that, and this is something that I found too. When I sold some stuff to get some extra money. When I needed the extra money. If I wanted to put it on eBay right now, I could probably do that. But is it going to move? Am I going to get more out of it than when I would sell to a store or somebody else? Maybe, yes, probably, sure. But when am I going to get that? After it's got to be listed. It's got to eBay's going to get their cut. PayPal's going to get their cut. Shipping costs. But and then what do you get out of that? Anyway, I preface all of that because if you have the patience to sit there and do that, nothing that I would be selling, other than maybe Chrono Trigger, is really rare to find. But it's desired. That's the only thing. So you're going to look on there and you're going to see listing. Imagine how many people are trying to sell their copies of Silent Hill 1 right now. Or we're trying to sell it. So, Mike, Super Metroid, circling all the way back to this now. Super Metroid loose goes for about $74. Loose. Zero Mission, loose, Game Boy Advance cartridge, 78.
Down.
78.
Really?
Yeah. Again, you're not guaranteed to get all this out of it. You know, this is Twilight Princess on the Wii U, 77.
That's not going anywhere.
It might.
Wait. They don't have it on the Switch.
They don't. If they release it on the Switch, it'll go down, I guarantee you. Mario RPG, 88. Dino Crisis 2, 97. Yeah.
What about Medieval? I'm getting ready to get on there now and look.
Medieval? I think I have Medieval. But on average, if you add up everything that I put into the Game Eye app, including my consoles, my collectible stuff, I have an average of about $18,000 worth.
If you can get all that.
If you can get it all. Because, look, the stuff that I even sold to get some extra money is not what I could have got for it here. However, everything that I sold, I pretty much got. I either sold it what I bought it for, which you don't get at stores. They always give you less than what. If I'd have sold it 2 years ago, I would have got less than what I paid for it for. And in some cases, I even got more money back than what I paid for it back then.
Sure.
So therefore, while I'm not maximizing I'm not sitting here trying to retire off my game collection. I'm just like, man, I need to help myself out.
I'm trying to remember the name of that Star game that I have. What was it called?
Star Citizen? That game's not out yet.
No. Why you gotta be dirty like that?
Well, I know what you're talking about. That's that Legend of the Seven Star. No.
Yeah.
So, Mike, I actually was going to bring up Star Citizen. Because it's been a while since we've been on the show together. And we've been sitting here riffing for about a half hour. So I gotta poke the bear just a little bit.
I know you do.
So, is it out?
No.
Okay. So, Star Citizen, this was an article from Kotaku on Wednesday.
I get updates all the time on like, hey, we're going to do this. Hey, we're going to do a new ship. Hey, we're going to do this. It's like, cool. Why can't you release the fucking game and then release those later on?
Okay. So, according to this article, it's a very short article because it's more of a YouTube video. But Star Citizen is currently free to play as the game enjoys its annual Invictus launch week celebration. I figured now would be a good time to take a look at see how things going. So we did a YouTube video, and Cloud Imperium Games, they're the developer, I assume, for Star Citizen. They've raised more than $365 million via crowdfunding since the development started in 2012.
The most crowdfunding ever.
And the game's not out yet.
It's not officially out yet.
No.
Why would you?
Right?
Why at this point? I'll be honest.
I mean,
why would you?
We're gonna need a little bit more, guys. If you could help us out here, we're not quite right at 8K resolution. We want to really get that going there.
The problem is that as fine and dandy as it is to try to stay at that top level. So like we know technology moves, I mean, at a rapid pace. 3 years, you're looking at everything you've already started, gone. And development cycles are like 5 years, 5 to 6 years on new games. You got to understand, you can't make everything at that bar all the time. You have to make it and then upgrade it as you gradually go. He doesn't like to do that. He wants to, the company wants to be like, whenever the VR got big, they literally switched over to do VR.
Do you think that for as cool as this game sounds and could be, do you think that it's too ambitious?
I don't think it's too ambitious if he'll just stop.
Well, that's what I mean. Is he like, he keeps, instead of setting the bar and meeting that bar and releasing a really good game, he keeps moving the bar. And whereas like, if you finish the game and put it out and it's really cool, then you can start moving the bar after release to be like, here, check out this really cool update that you guys can get for like $10. And then get people to buy on, and then you'll get into there, because he was trying to put together a really cool game that is a community, right? of online players with big servers and all that stuff, right?
So yes, but it's community built.
Right.
So it's not just here is EVE Online. Let's just use
right.
EVE because it's the other huge open exploration, and you can build your own space stations. But the big thing is he's basically making it where you can come together and build a city, and like you can buy planets, property on planets and stuff. Like the game is unbelievably ambitious. As you said, is it too high? If he'll stop moving everything and just say, okay, we're going to stop at 2K resolution. All development needs to be at 2K resolution. And then as we progress forward, we'll update it. But when I log into it, and I log into it every once in a while to see if anything's changed, there's stuff that's added, but I have no idea where it is. Because you're talking about a universe, like 30 star systems, and you're just sitting there going, I hear what they're talking about. Where is it?
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I really want to see it move forward. I want to see it just say, hey, here you guys go. We'll see how it runs and then move forward from there.
So using this game as a pivoting point, I had to pick a game to buy that was coming out. I saw Resident Evil 8 coming out the bend. I wanted to play it, but I chose something else. I chose a remaster of sorts. I chose a legendary edition of Mass Effect. So this is my steelbook I got with my Best Buy order. You know, it looks pretty nice and shiny. I'm actually going to get a second steelbook when my collector's edition comes in. So I got the collector's edition they were offering on BioWare.com, and it doesn't come with the game.
Still didn't get the vinyls though.
I didn't get the vinyls, no. And here's, I'm not losing sleep about it. All right, I'm not losing sleep about it. If we were not in the current world situation that we're in, where we don't know what's going on with our job, maybe I'd be losing some sleep about it. But right now, I'm happy as a clam being able to play these games again in a really nice resolution with 60 frames per second. Looks really nice. And I'm not a guy that harps on 60 frames per second. If I'm enjoying the game, I don't care what frames it are at, as long as it's not dipping. I don't care. You know, because I can play a game at 30, and people will be like, how can you play at 30? You're like, well, I don't really notice. I'm just having fun. However, when a game is running consistently at 60 and you're used to it, you can sit, especially if you're playing a game that was like Mass Effect, that was already out running at 30, and then now you're playing it again at 60. There is a bit of a difference. Or you could play it on the Xbox Series X and get 120 out of Mass Effect. I think anything like my TV, I don't think it can even go above 60, so it would be pointless.
I'm really surprised that you, sir, did not buy it on the Xbox.
There's a reason. Because I saw the news coming out about the game. I got the tech specs. I have the Xbox One X. I don't have the Series X, as I don't have that kind of money, nor do I have that kind of patience or a reason, really. You know, what down the line in a couple years, maybe, but at current time, I don't. So, for the systems that I have, I can get it on the PS5 or I can get it on the One X. PS5 is the better bet because it runs better. It does run better on the Series X if you have a display that will do 120 hertz refresh rate, which mine doesn't, and that's okay because it looks fine. It looks perfectly fine. But here's my quick thoughts before we move on to some games that you've been playing, because I am still playing Mass Effect 2. So the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect, if you don't know, you've been living under a rock. It includes the original Mass Effect trilogy, 1, 2, and 3. And they did a lot of work on Mass Effect 1. It was a lot. I was actually, after I beat Mass Effect 1 and went to Mass Effect 2, with them have made changes to even the HUD of Mass Effect 1 to make it more in line with what would become in 2 and 3. And then that looked almost, Mass Effect 2 looked dated then. comparative to what I just played in 1.
Oh wow.
Just based on just look. I'm used to it now that I've met back into 2 and playing 2. But like the graphics look great, the character models look fantastic. They have singularity or made a singular character model design from 1, 2, and 3, whereas in the other 3 games, if you made it in 1, there would be a version of them in 2. It would look the same. But I mean, we're talking like the difference between technology rising in 2007 to 2010 to 2012. Now you get a singular experience as far as that. So, and they've also added a few different things for the creative if you want to create your own dude or gal. And they even added for Mass Effect, they'd never had until Mass Effect 3. They didn't have a default female. They had a default male, default female. They really didn't have a design nailed down. In Mass Effect 3, they did that. You know. So now you can go back and play that way. If that is your female ship that you want, that redhead gal, you can actually put her in Mass Effect 1 now and have her go all the way through. So that's cool. And they made a lot of changes to the cooldowns. I noticed the cooldown. I actually played Powers in Mass Effect 1 this time around. It was actually kind of enjoyable.
Because you don't have a 4-minute cooldown on your throw.
Yeah, exactly. So like what I did do, I played Vanguard, which Mass Effect 1 doesn't have the biotic charge. But I still rolled with the shotgun. I spec'd into the shotgun and would just throw on my barrier and roll up and just shoot him in the face. And there you go. And it was actually very fun. The Mako feels a little better. It's not no miracles. No miracles across the board here. They didn't remake the game. That's like the only thing they didn't do to this game. That's the only thing that they couldn't do. But the Mako has a boost. So you can get. Oh man, when I was rolling around in the Mako, you still have to drive with the stick, so that's still a bit funky. But they didn't want to just remap everything.
Right.
But when I'm driving the Mako, I'm literally holding down the boost button and it goes. So literally the entire time, that's the only sound you hear on my TV. It's just the boost over and over again because it helps me get through those sections faster.
Right.
They did improve the camera to be more similar to 2 and 3, and as well as the zoom in for the aim. It's not perfect. It's not even. I've even seen PC mods that make it better, but for like you get used to it, and now you can even aim weapons you don't spec into. That was a problem with Mass Effect 1 original. If you didn't have assault rifles and you couldn't spec into it, you can have an assault rifle, but you weren't going to aim very well, and it was going to be it was like a RPG dice roll. Now you can actually use it. It's just that the weapons that you spec into get damage bonuses, and you get special abilities just mainstay for those weapons. Overall, the game is untouched as far as the story goes, except for there's one DLC that's missing due to missing code, but it's not really an important one anyway. In Mass Effect 2, it is Mass Effect 2. It's Mass Effect 2. The only thing that's different about it is that all of the extra DLC armors and weapons you don't get them from the start. Like if you played it on the 360 and you had all those downloaded, they would just be given to you right at the beginning of the game. Now they are in all the stores, in different stores. So you actually have to go around and find them. So it's kind of cool because now it's like, oh, okay, so that dude has that armor. I'll have to try and get a discount or come back later or whatever. But I'm enjoying my time with them. You know, I'm getting 4K and 4K and 60 frames out of them, and I'm just having a lot of fun revisiting the games and going back through them. They look fantastic. The only thing that I have noticed, and I'm being nitpicky here, they wanted to improve the reflections, basically give it some RTS out of it, but they could not do that. So what they did is that they basically double rendered the image for anything that was going to be a reflection. What I've noticed in my gameplay, there's been 2 instances here when you're running by and you're moving your camera, it is jaggy as hell going across that window. To the point where I stop and go, that is weird. If you stop and don't move and you just move your camera, you don't notice it. But if your character's moving, like it looks like yeah. And I've noticed that in 2 spots. Two spots where I'm running, and it's not even I'm in combat. It's like I'm running through and like a bar, and I'm like, whoa, that looks funky. Yeah, no, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I chose it. I paid $60 for the game that I got the Steelbook for. I did get the collector's edition that does not come with the game that I boycotted Mass Effect Andromeda for.
Good thing you did. Sorry.
Well, Mass Effect Andromeda Collector's Edition came with either a statue of the car of that game or a remote control version of the car. And even when it got down to like $50, I didn't buy it. I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah.
But then they announced a collector's edition for the legendary Mass Effect remasters. And I'm like, oh, let me guess, it doesn't come with the game. Oh, look, surprise me, it doesn't come with the game, right?
Well,
color me surprised. What it does come with is another Steelbook. I'm going to laugh if it's the same Steelbook. I hope it's a different one. It comes with a couple of lithograph prints. Okay, that's cool. It comes with a rotatable pin. My wife has gotten into collecting pins. I don't know if you know what that's about. Like the enamel pins.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
She's got into it. She's got she doesn't have a bunch, but she's got some. So there's one from Mass Effect. You can actually twist it. Paragon Renegade. So you can put it whichever way you want. And then, of course, the big finale of that collector's edition is the helmet. So you have the Fallout helmet, and I'm going to get the breather helmet, the N7 breather helmet. Me and you could take a picture with our helmets on and look like idiots.
Yeah.
They didn't say it. So, like, for it was $150. I bought that. I did. I bought it. And mine is in Wave 2, so I'm not going to get mine until July.
Yeah, that's okay. At least you got it. Yes, we know you're.
I got it, and I'm probably going to set it up for display, like right around here, so you just see like the N7 helmet looking at you.
Nice.
So. But that's what I've been playing. Mike, you bought the other game, 2 games, and have been playing them. So the one game that I could have bought for PS5 is Resident Evil 8. I want to play it still, and I do plan on playing it. But you have played it and completed it. So with as minimal spoilers, what are your thoughts on RE8?
It's very similar to Biohazard. I mean, essentially, it's your Ethan Winters. As I'm sure the viewers have seen, my favorite part is how much his hands get damaged in this game, and they go back to normal. There's a reason why, but spoiler alert on that one. I really enjoy it. It's a good game. It took what they did with 7 and they built upon it. And I mean, there's only one thing to say about that game. That's a big bitch. She big. She is huge.
Do you think that, as from a gameplay perspective, having played some of the older ones, including the RE2 remake, and then of course 7, and then playing this, do you feel like gameplay wise, is it more fun than 7? Like, because I'm not saying I didn't enjoy 7, but I could see some improvements to see where they're going. Just from what I've seen of RE8, and it seems like they're leaning a little bit more into the action than they were in 7, but did you think it was more fun?
So, yes. I definitely think it was better. It moved in the right direction. But also, little lady dominatrix, that I like to call her, when you see the house or the castle, that's pretty much what I felt like it is. But she's Mr. X. They basically took from 2 and did the Mr. X, where she's around the castle constantly. She's just walking through the castle. So as you're doing that portion of it, you will randomly walk into her. And it's like, oh crap. And then there's other instances where her daughters, they're around and you run into them, and that's when you know you're kind of going the right direction to finish that segment of the castle off. But as a whole, everybody focuses on the castle. It's good, but there's a lot of other stuff. Like the factory. There's a section with a factory where this guy is basically making can't say that because I would say T virus, but
Sure.
Because its base is off of the 7, where it's like a T virus mold stuff. So it's not the virus; it's something else. I don't. It's hard to explain without like telling you exactly what
Right.
it is.
The only reason why I don't is because I do plan on playing it eventually. So
Yeah, and when you realize, you're like, oh, okay, but the story, being an RE fan,
yeah.
The story is absolutely great. Like, I suggest to read everything, but I am going to spoil something for you. It's not really spoiling something, but you do get to play as Chris again.
Awesome.
And he is much more seasoned, and when you have that small, it's a very, very small segment. Yeah, you badass. He's Chris Redfield. That's all you need to know.
Average review score for reviewers on the PS5 version, you can look at the other ones if you want to, is at 84, so about 8 point. And honestly, the user score is almost identical, 8.5.
I'd say it's about that. I would say that. My wife really likes it. It's got a lot of creepy stuff to it.
My only worry, which it doesn't sound like that this is a worry, is that if you're going to increase the action, you cannot then, since it's a Resident Evil game, decrease the intensity or tension.
Oh, they don't. They don't.
Right. So, because that was my problem with where they went with 4, 5, and 6, is that they took it in a lot more action road, and you didn't feel that tension. Whereas then you go to RE2, and then they bring back the tension, and they and even 3 to 3 still has it. Yeah.
Each segment has its own style of tension.
Okay.
So, have you seen all 4 of the 5? There's technically 5. Have you seen all 5 of the main people?
The main people? Like, I'm not sure if I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen everybody, no.
There are ones that are not, I'm going to do this and you're going to laugh at me. So there are those that are just zombies, then those that are advanced zombies, and then those that are intelligent, didn't lose anything zombies, where they are essentially like a Mr. X or a Nemesis, but they're not bound to be guided like a bullet. They are literally their own entity. They just answer to the one individual, but they are their own specific individual creature. I can't say people because they're not people anymore, but a creature. And they're allowed to make their own decisions as long as they kind of stay within the guidelines of the primary goal. But each area is different. So, like, obviously, the castle, you have the lady freaking chasing you around, and the sister or the daughters. But the second one, super fucking creepy. I played it, and Joanne had already played it. And she's sitting there watching me like, how are you going to react to this? Because there's no enemies. None. Zero. Nothing. But it is super creepy. Like Silent Hill without creatures. Creepy. The ambiance. Everything you're doing. Amazing. And then the next area you go to, it's super actiony. So like the stuff that you're wanting to kind of stay away from, but it has a tenseness to it that's not being chased or, having a lot of like feeding into specific fears. It's just chaos, literally. And then the final person is your traditional Resident Evil, what's around the corner? Oh shit, I've got to run type crap. So I really enjoyed it. All the way through, to be honest. I was really surprised because 7, I played 7. I enjoyed a little bit of it. Obviously, the harder sections I did for my wife. But overall story, I was kind of like, this story doesn't pick up until the end.
Yeah, okay, so I really enjoyed 7 at the beginning. and especially when you're like, and you don't know what's going on.
When you first go to the guest house and it's like chaos.
And then like the families, the dudes following around the house, walking through the house. So that was really neat. And then it kind of lost me in the middle. And then near the end, when the story kind of wraps back around, and it's like, wow, this is actually connected to everything that was going on. But we're just through the eyes of this dude, and he doesn't know anything about that. And his girlfriend was kind of involved, and then it's like, wow, this is awesome. Now I'm actually fully invested. And then at the very end, it's like, wow, that was cool. What's next? So like, I enjoyed my time with it, and I felt like they did a really good job of, if we're going to do a different gameplay style, you can take a risk. That they did a really good job for that entry of like making it almost seem kind of like a reboot, but not.
So I believe that it was the one thing I don't like, and you know this, I don't like a delay. So like when I hit my controller, I want it to move. It doesn't do that. It's not an instant. It's like but to be fair, I can look past it because of how much this sumbitch takes. Because like within the first segment, I mean, he's cut, torn up, ripped apart, like parts of his body. I can see him, he's going to aim and he's kind of like a little sluggish because he's gotten the crap beat out of him. Sorry, that was me.
Yeah. Well, and also I think in terms of like wanting to keep, it's kind of weird because I'm kind of defending not having snappy controls by saying they want you to. It's almost like back in the day when they had the tank controls. Like they didn't want it to be easy for you to play the game. They wanted you. That's how you were going to feel the tension of not being able to move around like as smooth as you could. But that's just kind of maybe an excuse. I don't know.
I personally like the like when I think of first person, I always go straight to shooters, and that's what it's always going to be for me because that was my first real first person is shooters. But for the horror thing, it makes sense of like, obviously when you're running a straight line, there's no way you're going to be able to run 10 miles an hour and then turn left in one step. It's got to be rounded. Your movements have to be, you can snap, but we're not that snappy as a human being. So I understand it, and it works really well for the game design and what they were trying to achieve. So I personally don't like it, but for a game overall, I believe an 8 is a very solid number for that game.
That's cool. That's awesome.
I think the story's a 10 though.
Oh, cool.
And when you see it, you'll be like, you start getting those little notes, and you're like, oh. It's really good. It's really good.
So you also just got another game, and this one was almost, almost a Star Citizen level. Level of will it come out or won't it come out? And we're talking about Biomutant. You've been hyped up on Biomutant for what seems to be years now.
Been about 2 years now.
From like THQ Nordic, and it has finally come out.
It's THQ Nordic, but it's actually from 101.
Right.
It's THQ Nordic now. As we found out on the podcast, they actually own a ton of like the most stuff, but we had no idea. But so I'm going to go ahead and add something in. If this isn't a podcast with Mike, if Mike doesn't go take a pee. That's coming right now.
All right. Well,
it's not a podcast unless I have to go to the bathroom.
It is not. It wouldn't be a typical podcast. And like if we did not have a little pee break and right in the middle. I mean, you made it in an hour.
I did. You got it right. And you know what's funny? Huh. When I was downstairs getting water, I peed.
So like Mike has pretty much the bladder very similar to my wife. So it is what it is. Go, Mike. Go ahead.
And the funny thing is like when I go to the bathroom for this hour, it'll be a really long pee. It's not like it's a small bladder. It's like my body just fills it up all at once.
Go. All right, guys. So while Mike is gone, I'm going to tell you guys kind of what's been going on in my world a little bit away from the Game Addicts podcast. I am still hosting or co-hosting the World Gaming Trade Show with my buddy Jeremy Evans over there on the In-Game Boss program. We're getting ready to do another brand new episode, probably the same day. Okay, we're going to record it the same day that this episode drops. And we are going to be recording an episode on Chrono Trigger, this game I was talking about earlier. And what do we do on that show, guys? What we do is so cool. We take a game that hasn't been seen around for a while, a franchise. Maybe they gave up on it. Maybe they sold it. Maybe it's lying dormant. And we revitalize it and come up with some new ideas of how we can make it better. And then we pick a developer that we think could tackle it based off of some stuff that they've done in the past or think that they could handle it. It's a really cool podcast. Go check it out over on the In-Game Boss program feed. It's available, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all those places. So, yeah, go over there, check out the In-Game Boss. You can check out the link on the GameAddictsPodcast.com. If you go to our website, if you're on your phone, scroll all the way down to the bottom. There's a big, nice picture there where it says In-Game Boss. Or if you're on the computer, we're off to the right. As well as another podcast called Rank 'Em All. So we're doing a music review and rank podcast where we take some of our favorite bands or artists and we rank all their albums. And how we do that is that we rank all the songs. We average that up. We get an album rank, and then we get a master rank by putting all of our rankers, all of our panelists, all of our average ranks together to get an average rank. And we've been doing that. The Metallica collection, that season is done. It has been up. It is ready to go. And we have a whole new one coming out here soon for Between the Buried and Me with some other hosts that are going to be tackling that one. And we have another one after that, which we are not officially announced yet, where we're looking forward to getting back to it. So go check that out at rankemall.rocks on the Googles, on the websites, as well as all the podcast places that we said before, the Apple, Spotify's, all those places. We have YouTube. Go check out the YouTube channel because all the Metallica ones have video, and we're going to be having some more videos content over there as well. That could be some compilation stuff and even some stuff that isn't just music related. So stay tuned for that. Mike, welcome back to the show. How was your pee?
Relieving.
Awesome. I'm relieved for you.
And the dog went, she's super excited, but then laid down between my legs as I was peeing. It's weird. But anyway, so back to where we're going. Biomutant.
Yeah, Biomutant. Mike.
So I did get the...
Share your story about getting your copy of Biomutant.
Which part?
The part where you got the game. And you get it in the mail.
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, I've got everything right here. So the game. So I was on the I was supposed to be on the latter portion of this because my copy came from Europe.
Yep.
And reason why is because I bought I call it the non-atomic collector's edition. So I got the main character
and his Buster Sword.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it looks like with lightning. Let's see if I can get it closer. Got a lightning. I actually have this exact sword in the game.
Looks like some wires in there to help electrify it, and
yeah, you can kind of mod some of the stuff. It has add-ons, so you can make. So the really neat thing is you can make your weapon.
Yeah.
But then you can have an add-on. But anyways, so it said the 27th, so I was in no rush to do what I needed to do. Well, in today's era, most PC games do not come with a physical copy. Well, I want to let you know right now. If you were to get the 101, it is a real copy. So, I, in this new era, do not have a DVD player.
A drive. You don't have a drive.
Or a drive. So I had to go buy one of these little puppies here. A portable one.
Dude, that's nice. Dude, that thing's pretty slim, man. That thing's sharp.
$20.
That's not bad.
$20.
It's not bad.
It's a DVD. It's a CD DVD writer, but it doesn't do Blu-ray, which I don't care.
Yeah, right.
Unless the game was Blu-ray, and then obviously I would have to have
what
Blu-ray.
PC games are releasing on Blu-ray anyway?
None. Most of them, they just have, all of them. It's a Steam. So the best part about it, it's a Steam game. So when I saw that, I was officially, I'm like, it's a download code because I got a download code. for my mercenaries. You can kind of see, because I've already turned it in, so you can't turn it in anyways. But yeah, so that's the first thing I pulled out. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm just gonna get a code, and then this came out. Funny story about that is that one of the discs was in the bottom of the box. So immediately when I looked down, I was pissed. It turns out that is the soundtrack for the game. So it had an all sleeve, so I wasn't as mad. I was like, oh, maybe I want to listen to it, but whatever. Well, yeah, it had this code and then this. It had 2 or 3 of these little slips. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I pull out this box. I'm like, why does I have a case? Like a PC game with a case? It's a box. Like, it's not a plastic case. And I was like, kind of pissed. I was like, oh, it's kind of shoddy. And I look in and I'm like, oh, fuck, it's discs. My wife's like, so you going to go play with it? I'm like, on what? She's like, on your computer, which you bought it for. I'm like, with what tools do I have to put this on my system? And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, we don't have a disk drive. She's like, you do. I'm like, yeah, it's pulled out. I'm not ripping the whole computer apart to slide this in, put 2 discs in, and then took it all back out. No. So I was a little confused at first, but like a part of me was upset that I couldn't play it that day. But then the other part of me was like, you know what? I got a physical copy though. How often do you see a PC game come physical copy?
That whole section of Walmart's gotten smaller and smaller, so you can still find some games. Some big releases, because there's still some PC collectors out there, so some big titles do still come, and for a physical collector aspect of it, I think it's pretty cool because you were thinking this is a game that I'm not going to be able to sell anyway if it sucks. So, but I'm not saying you would anyway, but this is just something to go along with it because you were looking forward to this game for so long. Your hype level was it almost got to a point where your hype level was completely depleted because it took so long to get out and there was no news. I remember at one point it was supposed to have been released. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was either supposed to be released, was it July of 2019, and then they said no, March 20, because we're working on the Switch version, and then that got delayed a whole other year to release it now without a Switch version.
I believe that was for the Atomic Edition. So the Atomic Edition is him slicing, like it's basically the starting area where he slices through with his sword or whatever sword you have, slices through his mallet. It's really neat. But it's actually really detailed. Like I actually looked at it. Like it looks phenomenal. Also, that was $300, and you get that statue, which my statue is big. This is 7 inches tall.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that one's like probably like 9 to 10, but it's also like this big. So it's completely different die. And the only extra it really came with, I believe, was like a mouse pad. And that's the only thing I was interested in was the mouse pad because I thought it was cool.
At least it wasn't like FF7 Remake when we get $300 for a action figure in a motorcycle. Yeah, just to get that extra comparative. Like we still get the same version of the copy of the game with the art book that you can get for just $80. Throw in an extra $200, and then you can get your action figure.
And you get an extra summon now. Don't forget about that extra summon. I believe that was Cactar.
Eventually, they just made it to where you can get it.
Yep.
So, like,
because I think we got the one with Carbuncle.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even use it, by the way.
I don't remember.
I think I used it like twice, and I was like, then you get Ifrit, and you're like, you're not here no more. Bye.
All right. So, like, now that we've talked about you getting Biomutant, What are your overall thoughts about Biomutant? Because with this big long window of release, now reviews are starting to pour in. I want to hear what you have to say about it because I'm more interested to hear your review than I am to hear any major reviewer.
So, I do have my complaints about the game, but overall, visually, the game is phenomenal. It looks, it's smooth to play. Everything is fluid. Actually, some of it's like too fluid for me. It's just getting used to, like, you actually have to predict stuff. So, like, a creature does like a slam on the ground, it shows the animation, but the animation is actually behind the damage. So, you know, you have to time things, which you would properly have to time anyways. You wouldn't see the dust until after it's past it, right? So, a couple of my complaints is that the world is an apocalyptic current state. And basically, I'll kind of give it up. It's basically like if we continue to do what we're doing to the planet with nuclear waste and not giving a shit, it's goes into a catatonic state. That's essentially what happens. But the world is very empty. So like you can get mounts and stuff. So like I'll hop on my goat. I got like a billy goat, and I'll ride through the trails to go to like the towers. And a lot of the times, there's not an enemy for 5 to 10 minutes to get from point A to point B. So there's times where you waste a lot of time traveling, but you get to see the world. So I enjoy it, but I also think that a lot of it's kind of empty. The other big thing is that it hinges on, I mean, the statue is him holding a freaking huge sword.
Right.
Yeah, you're usually going to use the guns because they do the same amount of damage and you get to keep your distance. Because a lot of the moves that they do, it has a spider sense counter. So you know how like Peter Parker, they do the little flashes above their head to let you know, hey, they're getting ready to do a move, you can counter. They have that with melee, and it helps.
Yeah.
But when you're fighting 5 or 6 guys, and usually it's like 3 or 4 little dudes, a dude with a gun, a couple guys with swords, a couple of suicide bombers, and then you've got this giant dude throwing exploding barrels at you. There's so much combat going on, you just stay back and shoot so that you can predict you can kind of see what's coming at you and you can dodge it. So that is one of my biggest complaints. The story is great. It is very, how would I say this? It is very Shogun-y. So like you're a Ronin.
Yeah, Shogun.
It's basically kung fu.
Yeah.
And it's cool, but it's also kind of annoying. The creatures will talk to you, and the little Jiminy Cricket, he's actually your translator. So he speaks basically every language. So they'll talk, they'll do the and he'll say, he's basically telling you to piss off type shit. Like basically to sum it up for you. That's really neat because, it's a lot of like those kind of movies where they talk, you don't know what's going on, or they talk and then there's another voice behind it that's not in sync with their mouths moving, So it's neat. All in all, I really like the game. I think the combat is just fun. I just killed the first World Eater, which is the big 4 creatures you have to kill. I'm on standard, so I didn't die. It wasn't hard, but it's cool. I really like the environment. I really like the environment because they have parts where like it has a nuclear facility, but then you can tell that it was an oil area that pumped a lot of oil, and then it just pumps it out into the ground. So that'd be like sea of black oil. But other than that, it's really fun. It has like a flashback thing. Other than that, yeah, I enjoy it. It is meeting my expectations. So that's good.
So the average Metacritic rating, the reason why I wanted to know yours is because I wanted to.
Should I give a points first?
If you want to, and then we'll talk about what the average, and then I was actually going to read GameSpot's review to see how much you agree or disagree, because I think that's what you can look at reviews and you can hear Mike's testimony or my testimony. Like the Mass Effect Legendary Edition scored like an 8 or 9 from most reviewers, and there's still people out there who are like, wow, Mass Effect 1 sucks. Like, but the thing is, like, well, it yeah. Gameplay, it still feels a little old, but it's better. So these games are being reviewed, and it's like, hey, these are still really good games. Hear my opinion. We can hear opinions. You can hear big major website opinions. Because that can still drive sales. Or now Twitch or YouTube, watching people play the game, people go and watch that to see if they want to buy the game. But mostly, it's like, don't just look at what some people are saying, and like make this decision up for yourself, because Mike's really enjoying himself and you might like it too. But Mike, give your number and then we'll talk about what some of the other people are saying.
So as we discussed before, we only have 110 personally. Did 7 get a 10? Did we give 7 a 10?
The remake or 10 or just regular 7?
The remake.
Oh man.
You can't give the original Final Fantasy 7 a 10 because one, the freaking translations suck.
Yeah,
so,
translation and localization. Yeah, no, yeah. I can't remember if we gave remake a 10. I think it's up there. I really enjoyed it.
The only one that we've officially given a 10 to.
Yeah.
Is The Last of Us.
Yeah.
First, part 1 and part 2. I say it's one block now that I played it. It's one game, part 1, part 2.
Mm-hmm.
I give it an 8.5. To me, if I give anything an 8, a 7.5 or above, it's a good game. I give it an 8.5 tentatively because 1, I have not finished the game and I have not unlocked half the stuff. Like sure. Literally, I'm not even level 20, so like I'm still having trouble building my weapons.
So Metacritic average review score, and I'm actually looking at the PC one here, since that's the one that you're playing. Average meta score from their reviewers is 67, so almost a 7, and then the user score is a 6.4.
Wow, that's actually really close.
Both of those for RE8N, because a lot of times, like we mentioned The Last of Us, you go on The Last of Us user score compared to the review score, and a lot of people hated the game for one reason or another.
Since you're doing that, look up The Village.
I did.
I give it a 9.
You give okay, so Village we said was about, I said like a 8.5, and it was pretty close.
I said that's pretty good. I would say it's 9 with the story. The story's a 10, but I think I said 8 for gameplay.
So I'm looking at GameSpot's summarized review that I found on Twitter just the other day, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. I didn't read their whole breakdown, but they have 2 good points and two like the good, the bad. They gave it a 6, fair. And they said the good, gorgeous and colorful open world differs from most post-apocalyptic settings. And combat,
very colorful.
They said the good, combat is fun in short bursts, especially when using psi powers and biogenetics.
It is. They are really cool powers.
So this is the bad. This is what they said. The story lacks character, resulting in your choices feeling hollow. And the mission design is dull and formulaic, and it's easy to fall into repetitive routine during combat. And I can kind of see that anyway.
So that's the number one complaint that I've seen is that
repetitiveness.
The repetitiveness of the combat is very old. I'd probably sink 8 hours into it. I would say a good solid 7 to 8 hours. I've done a lot of side missions. Like I just did the World Eater so that when we would get on here and talk, I would at least have that experience on the big boss fight. But other than that, like the side missions, I love the side missions. I think they're kind of cool, but I agree with the repetitiveness. It's just you combat, you do the same thing. Like I just told you, when you fight something, you're literally like when there's 5 or 6 different things, you're just going to step back and shoot them.
Yeah.
If you can pull a straggler out, and then you can counter their move, you can flip them up in the air and do like the Mortal Kombat tumble, or what is that? Yeah, whatever. But basically, you flip them up and then you just do your constant damage until they hit the ground.
Okay.
You know,
Like the combo, you keep them up in the air.
Yeah,
And you
because
keep
you know how it is. Like when you see those guys when they play in the tournaments, their number one thing is if they can get 1 or 2 hits in, they know what they can do, and they try to get you up in the air, and then they can do it unlimited. So, and obviously, Mortal Kombat, the tournament editions, they made it to where like as you're in the air, you take less damage.
Yeah.
Because they can keep you fumbled forever. Anyways, you can do that and do like a big fumble, and you do like extra damage in the air. So, all in all, I really enjoy it. But I totally get those reviews.
Yeah,
and I haven't sank nearly as many hours as these guys have. So my opinion could
change,
fall back on a good 6 or a 7.
Well, and that's just it. It's like this game had been coming out for a long time, and part of it to me wonders if there wasn't some issues with development that kind of caused the delay. Had this game come out a little sooner, would the reviews be as harsh, or is this like, wow, this game has been coming out for a long time, so the expectations raised up. Games sometimes have that issue when you let me look at Cyberpunk, you and me haven't talked about it here on the air, and we're not really going to dive into it, but it got to the point where it got delayed so many times and there was so much hype about it that no matter what they released, even if it was perfect, probably wouldn't be what people wanted. But the fact is, it was a freaking mess. So, and that doesn't help it, because then it's like, even if they fix everything and it's like a really good game, and like by the end of this year, most of the people who would have really got into it are already, in gaming, you move on. Sometimes you go back, sometimes you do, but most of the time you move on to the next thing, because there's always something to look forward to. And
unless you're a Fortniter.
Yeah, or
you just stay in that world forever.
Forever. But Mike, they just released 14 minutes of gameplay from the new Horizon game. Horizon, was it Forbidden West?
Horizon 2 Forbidden West.
And I watched that last night, and you watched it this morning. And I want to preface this by saying I never finished the original game. I had some issues with the control of her, and I felt like it was a bit weird and wonky. I do want to go back and finish it, and I still plan on doing so. I watched the gameplay for this. It looks phenomenal. Of course, this is captured on next gen, right?
It's on 5. It says on a 5.
Well, the rumors I'm hearing is that there will be a version available on the PS4. So
I know. I'm saying they captured it on the 5.
They did capture it on the 5. It does look graphically beautiful.
It's very colorful.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Biomutant is, very colorful. But Biomutant's more like cartoony.
Yeah, and this is a little bit more realistic.
It looks phenomenal.
It does. Now, obviously we're still dealing with is her name Aloy or Alloy? Alloy?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're still dealing with her, and she's doing her bow and arrow thing, and doing some cool stuff. We got dudes riding robot velociraptors,
which look amazing, and you get to ride one.
You get to ride one yourself, and they're riding a huge robot elephant mammoth like thing. Now, and they have dudes up there rolling around like they're. Did that not remind you of in some way? Not okay. So like. Watching Mad Max Fury Road, and they have like these big rigs of just stuff that rolling through the desert, and they got like all these platforms built on these vehicles. You're like, what in the heck? This is over the top. And then it's funny because then you watch Moana, and they did that on the ocean with those big like coconut pirates. And so now I want to see mammoths with those big things on them like Mad Max.
It reminded me of 2 things: Lord of the Rings,
yeah,
Return of the King. And what was the other one? 300, where they do they got the guys from wherever.
Yeah. So I don't remember. I didn't get as far into the first one as you did. Did she have the little thing where she could glide in the first? So was that not a Breath of the Wild thing? Did it not seem like they're doing their own thing?
Biomutant's got the same thing too.
Okay, so they're doing their own thing. They're doing their Horizon thing, and that's obviously still here and present. But you're telling me that they did not, because those two games came out right around the same time, you remember.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was playing Breath of the Wild. You were playing Horizon. We were talking about that here on the podcast. We actually did a whole episode where I talked a little bit about
played Breath first, though.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah. If they came out at the exact same time?
I want to say I got Breath first on the Wii U, and then you got Horizon, and then a little bit later, you jumped on into Breath. If I remember.
I got Breath on the Wii U on launch.
Okay.
And played it with you.
Because I'm thinking people who play Horizon said, you know what, we can do a little glide thing, and I think it'd be really cool.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was seeing some of that elements in there, and it looks pretty smooth. I'm hoping, and I do wonder, sometimes when I go to play a game, and say if I've been playing another game right before it that has a little bit tighter of controls, if I'm just like, wow, this isn't as tight. And maybe that's perfect for Horizon, but from what I have been playing, I don't like it, and I had that same experience with Jedi Fallen Order, because I had
it's gonna play exactly like Jedi Fallen Order.
Well, okay. Like what I was saying is, I had the experience with that game I didn't like the controls, because I had just got done playing through Uncharted 4 and Uncharted Lost Legacy, its expansion. And those games, man, you cannot find any better games that have better traversal or parkour or climbing mechanics. And it is literally built in. That's part of those games. You have that. That's how you get around in those games. And it feels very good and tight. Then you go to play Fallen Order, and it's got like parts of like, hey, run and jump and grab onto this thing. And literally it is like not that tight. I had to like bring myself back and tell myself this isn't what this game really is about. It's about more of the methodic combat, and focus on that part of it, because I literally went from one extreme of being super tight traversal to this, and I kind of felt like maybe that's my issue with when I tried to play Horizon the first time with the controls. I didn't really feel like I had a good hold on her, and like I wasn't having as much fun as I thought I would when I was trying to play it. However, without getting my hands on it, of course, this game looks really, really smooth, and you've got my attention. I definitely, now that I know I'm going to have some time after playing Mass Effect, I'm now looking at 2 games to go back to and complete, because I didn't complete Horizon, and I didn't complete Ghost of Tsushima, and I want to complete both of those because those are really good exclusive games for the PlayStation that play and look even better on the PS5.
Right.
And so I want to play them.
So there's a couple of things in it. I agree basically with everything you say, except for I actually kind of like the controls.
Okay.
But I also, I come off of playing a game that's 18 years old. So, I
don't know what it was. When I was first trying to play Horizon, I'm like, of course, I was playing it a little bit later. I was playing it probably at least a year or two later after we first came out, and I think I got it for like $10, the complete edition, right? So I waited.
I was a little jelly that I spent full price, and then you got it $10. You got everything, and I still don't have the DLC.
Yeah, but it's just a matter of like, you know what? Okay, cool. I'm gonna finally play this. I'm like, man. This came out right at the same time as Breath, and there were a lot of comparisons between the two, and now there's going to be even more comparisons between the two with the gliding and everything. And they didn't release a release date for Part 2.
They did not.
And I'm wondering if they are waiting for Nintendo to make the first move, because Nintendo they got a Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 thing going on, that the rumors are it's way closer than any of us realize.
I mean, they've already got the basis, and the map's already built. Like, all they're doing is adding the dungeons that are going to be different, because it's supposed to be you complete the Blight, you stop Calamity Ganon, and then this is moving forward of you trying to go back and find out what happened in the past.
Right. So even though we haven't heard anything, there's a big rumor we're going to get a big showcase for that and possibly a release date. I've heard as early as this. I'm telling you, if they're going to release a next Switch, this game's going to probably launch with it, just like Breath did the original Switch.
Well, the rumors that I saw was that we're going to call it the Switch Pro, is slated to come this year because if you look, that guy looked up some of the stuff. They had, they were basically telling their guys, hey, update to 4K. Hey, the new Switch update has 4K stuff in it. Like,
yeah, some hints.
It's coming, and they have not come out and said you're wrong.
Right. Well, because
Nintendo's usually on it. Like if you're like, hey, we've got this coming, they'll right in the beginning they'll say you're wrong. We're not doing that, and then they'll do it anyways 4 or 5 years later. But
well, and okay, so like I remember we did an episode right as the Switch was launching where we heard rumors about a Pro version right away. We're like, what? And so we heard it right away, and nothing ever materialized from it. And it's like, okay, so it's not happening right now. But
then the Lite came out.
We'll see. And then the Lite, you had almost the exact same kind of like rumors and buildups, and it being posted on not just Video Game IGN or GameSpot or Kotaku or Comic Book, but then you had like Wall Street Journal talking or Bloomberg, just like with this Switch thing now, talking about Switch Lite, or at the time the Switch Mini or whatever it is, a handheld version, and you're like, okay, is this really going to happen? All of a sudden, it does, and all the stuff is actually 100% factual. That it has improved D-pad. All the stuff that we had heard is exactly the version of what we got. So, is this another red herring where it's going to be like, well, it's not happening? I think it is, because I think with it being 4 years, it's time.
It's time.
You have to upgrade. You have the two other main competitors, and of course PC doing their thing with their new graphics cards. The graphics and ability to run a game is going to go up. If Nintendo wants to still be your best buddy that you're going to take with you, that you own also with a PC, also with an Xbox, also with a PlayStation, they have to be able to be not only playing great Nintendo games, but have those occasional third-party games that are really big or big enough to say, you know what, I have this on PC or I have this on PlayStation, or maybe this is like a game that's a couple years old and that I've already beat, but man, how cool would it be to play that on the plane while I'm traveling, you know?
See, I feel like, so when you really look at the road so far is that we heard the rumor, or not really rumor, but they were working on the little discs or their little cartridges going 50 gigabytes.
Or 60, wouldn't it? Like 64, 60. Like 64. Doubling from 32 to 64. Yeah.
So why would you do that? Here's my thing. Why would you do that? Whenever your Nintendo, your Zelda, your Pokemon, and your Marios are not even exceeding 16 to 20 of that space.
Yep.
They're not. Why do you need to go 64?
Because your NBA 2Ks are already bigger than that, and they need to have enough of that space for the core game to be able to put on there and then download the rest of it.
And that's what we all thought. But what if this is them basically going, hey, we can take, because there's no arguing, Nintendo has the best compression, period.
Yeah.
It's that's it. It's over.
They maximize their space for sure.
They're so good at saying this texture, and then they just have it down. You give them, double the size, but then their first party games aren't even using a third of what they've got. But now you're doubling that.
So we're going to be seeing a Zelda or a Metroid come out that's like 30, 40 gigabytes big. And think about how pretty that's going to... Imagine if Metroid Prime 4, it's been so long in development, that it's going to come out and it's going to be docked their version of 4K. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be sitting on your 4K TV going, oh, and it's
I would just like to see the motherfucker.
I know.
I don't even give a shit about where you at, what's going on, what you doing with your other console. I'll play it on the current one. Where's my Metroid Prime?
So I heard a rumor, or maybe it wasn't a rumor. It was a statement from a guy who used to work at Retro, or maybe worked at Nintendo. And he pretty much said, do not count on the Prime trilogy being released for the Switch. And someone's like, why? And he goes, Well, when we brought over Metroid Prime 1 and 2 to the Wii, it was really easy to bring those really input controls from the controllers and put them into motion. It's like that was really relatively easy for us to do. But Metroid Prime 3 was developed from the ground up with the input, with the motion controls format. And to reverse that into a controller input is really difficult, to the point of you would almost have to reprogram it. And if they're going to remaster a game, that's not, they don't want to spend that much money to do that. Henceforth, look at what they did with Skyward Sword. And I'm like, that is a great analogy, because even though they did find a way and they made it work, it's not going to play like your standard Zelda game anyway. But
I need to finish that.
But for the Switch version, they're using the stick, in which you're basically using the stick to recreate the motion controls. And so that's, he was saying, is like, don't count on the Metroid Prime trilogy coming, because they're not going to want to put that much work and effort into making 3 on the inline with 1 and 2 with the original input. Like, it's just not going to happen. And I'm like, that's very disappointing, because we heard those rumors for a long time that they were going to be making a trilogy to be released to get you caught up on the story. And so I guess we'll see. We'll see what the future holds as far as Metroid 4 and that goes. But if we're gonna talk about, like, you said something about WoW. WoW has a new thing coming out. We'll talk.
It's not new.
Okay, so we'll touch on that before we touch on like the last few things here for E3, and then we'll.
All it is the Burning Crusade, which is, they're doing the Burning Crusade Classic. The pre-patch is out actually Tuesday. It comes live to where you can go to Outlands. That was my game. Like, that's what I skipped an entire generation for. Like, I had a 360. If you remember the story, I had a 360 drop day. I actually had WoW way before that, but I bought it and it burned up and I didn't even care. Like, I was upset. The 360, because I had one of the original models, so obviously it overheated. Blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows the story. But I didn't care. So I ended up getting one much later, as you know, like 5 years in. And then obviously I had a PlayStation 3 after that, just to have one. Other than that was my game. So that's coming out. I've been enjoying that a little bit. I've not really been enjoying it because it's all getting ready for Tuesday. But that's about it. I mean, a lot of the old stuff's coming back. I mean, a lot of people are really wanting to see those remastered and redone, because the Burning Crusade is considered one of the greatest times of MMO. Like, it's considered the greatest MMO of all time. That specific block, because of what you can do, how fun it is. It's got so many different elements to it. So you and Timmy going to be hitting up on that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Awesome.
You know, the man that was like, you're going to play this. No, I'm not. Here's a free account. I'm going to play this now.
Oh, man.
Literally, like, here's my second account. It's yours now. You're going to play it. Okay.
That's how it starts.
It is.
Well, and that's just the thing, on one of the last episodes of this podcast that I did with a guest, I had Nate on, and we talked about, man, you know what? The Mass Effect was, finally we saw some stuff from it and some screenshots and stuff, and it wasn't out yet, but we're like, how many games from that era, could we bring back that we haven't seen, like Dead Space? That we haven't seen anything done with that for so long.
Never gonna happen.
Well, and see, now that this is a success, EA could be like, hey, let's dust that off and just get some money. But the thing,
they tore that company apart.
They did, but they can have another. They have other companies that can step up. But anyway, we did a whole episode where we talked about old remasters. We had a list. We had a list. But speaking of stuff, E3, we talked about a little bit about Nintendo already, but we're going to hit up and talk about the other two bad boys here, that being Xbox, Microsoft, and PlayStation. So
there's a couple of things I like to say before we do this on these to kick off the rumors. Starfield. And then things I want to see. I think I deserve to see them. Gran Turismo.
Yeah, so we're talking about rumors and stuff that's already been kind of like been rolling around. We're going to be hearing more about stuff that's coming out. I think Xbox has announced that their showcase is on June 14th or 13th or 14th, Sunday or Monday. It's they typically do theirs on Monday, but now Microsoft is going to be also showcasing the Bethesda stuff because they own all of that. And so anything new that Bethesda has in line is going to be coming in. It has been confirmed Starfield is a Xbox console exclusive. It's still coming to PC, but that's to be expected. But it's going to be Xbox ecosystem exclusive. And I kind of want to start saying that more because you're starting to see PlayStation games slowly trickle to the PC. Horizon's on PC now. Days Gone just got released on PC. There's rumors that Uncharted 4 could be coming to PC. So like I feel like PlayStation's not going to put them out there on day one. They want it to be on theirs for a while, and then the PC guys can get it. But for Xbox, they're like day one Game Pass. It's there if you have Game Pass, you have Starfield, and I think that's a win for everybody. But it doesn't matter where you play or how you play, whether you have a big ass rig or whether you just want to sit down in front of your TV and play. That's where Xbox wants to get you in their ecosystem. So I feel like them getting the next big Bethesda game, which is a new IP, but this is also like saying that Elder Scrolls 6, Xbox exclusive. And I'm not saying console, I'm saying ecosystem. You're going to be playing on Xbox, whether you're on the console, whether you're on your phone, or whether or not you're playing through their launcher, you're launching it through Xbox. And that is a huge win. Because one thing that you and I have both said for a long time is that Xbox is just lacking the, number one, the amount of exclusives, but then the quality of, like, you've had your Halos and you had Forzas and Gears, but that's been kind of it for a long. Fable has now being redone, but like for a long time, they haven't. Whereas when you look at Nintendo and PlayStation, they are releasing titles that make you want to go out and buy that, or it's like or like you want to play that game so bad, you might actually go buy their console to play it. For the Xbox, even though they've been dabbling and now spreading out with the PC, there hasn't, despite having some good hardware and then also the PC crowd to kind of blend it in, there hasn't been that go-to game that they can say, this is our game that you guys are going to want to play. And they haven't been able to do that for a long time. But now that they own so many teams, so many groups, they bought Bethesda.
They've been buying everybody up.
So, like, the one thing with that Microsoft has now, even more so than the games that are just locked in to show us, is they almost have unlimited potential to be on that same level as Sony or Nintendo, to be just throwing out all these games that you're like, you want to play this, you got to have a rockin' PC or you got to buy our Xbox. And so it's going to be like, okay, some people are going to go on that PC route, and there's other people going to be like, I don't want to mess with that. I guess I'm buying an Xbox.
See, and that's the thing that I like it, and I also don't like it. But as we know now, they don't care about the Xbox system. They really don't. At this point, it's niche.
They want you you in the ecosystem no matter where and how. So that is just another way to get you in. It's like it's going to be there for you to buy.
Because if we've seen these consoles now, like when you put the PS5 and the Xbox side by side, the new Xbox, their components are almost exactly the same. Mm-hmm. Period. Like there's literally only what they boost them in which direction. That's all that's left. Those things are a PC. Those things are not mine, but a small PC in either a tower or some ugly banana looking thing.
Hey.
I'm telling you, it's ugly. It's ugly. Don't care what you think. It's ugly.
Now that I have one, it's all right. I like it.
It's not. It's not.
I like it. It's all right.
No.
Did you see that they're finally releasing a black controller?
No.
They're releasing a black. It is a black controller and a red controller. Those are the next two colors.
It's about time. I wouldn't own a white controller.
It's okay.
You're dirty.
Actually, mine's not that dirty, but I take care of. Okay, here's the deal. Average college gamer, they're gonna be dirty.
They're gonna be dirty.
I'm excited to see what Microsoft has to show because I feel like they're coming in here and they want to come out swinging. Because Halo's supposed to have been out already. It's not coming out till November, and I use November with quotes because we don't have a complete confirm on that, and there are some rumors going around that the game is still in pretty rough shape. So, and they absolutely do not want a Cyberpunk issue with Halo. That would be a bad thing. For them having done all this work and spent all this money to buy all these people to release their franchise, their Mario, Halo Chiefs, next big adventure, and it is a dud, that would be a severe setback for them.
It really would.
And so I don't think they want that. So if it's not ready, we're not going to see it. But I think, and I'm hoping, that we're going to see a few more original, brand new IPs. Because I know Obsidian's working on a new one. We know that the Forza Horizon developers are making the new Fable. There's probably a new Gears in development. Then there's all the stuff that Bethesda doing. Starfield's a brand new IP. So there's a lot of rumors about whether or not we will or we won't see Starfield and how soon we're going to see it released. There are rumors.
I just want to see something on it.
Okay.
It's 4 years ago?
Yeah, almost. Okay, so
it was when Fallout 76.
76.
The fallout of that.
Yeah. So, what Bethesda likes to do is being like, boom, here's the game. Boom, it's coming out in November. They did that for both Fallout 4 and 76. And the reason why I don't think they should do that with this is because Starfield's a new IP.
It's true.
Number one. So with Fallout, there's a new Fallout 4 game coming out. We're going to see it at the Bethesda thing. And then you get to see it, and then they're like, hey, guess what? You're already familiar with this. It's coming out this year. Hype train is now officially rolling. But with a brand new IP, you're rolling in there going, I wonder what this is. I wonder if I'm going to be interested. So you have to basically tell us what the game is, what we're going to be doing, and what it's kind of about. The other part is, so first off, you have to get people hyped for it. The other part is, guys, it's been a while since we've seen you, and it's been a while since we've had a nice little chat. We're here to earn your trust back.
Yeah.
So even if the game doesn't release in November this year, I think we should still see it and get introduced to it. Because I feel, and I don't have any sort of, because there's rumors that it's coming by the end of the year, maybe not. I feel, and this is what I would do. My prediction is kind of this, but this is what I would do if I was Bethesda. I would show it anyway and say we're aiming for Q1 2022. So January to March, because then you're still getting it within the financial year if you're able to get it done. So you're still ending your year with a brand new, look all these sales we did. And then when you start getting closer and you realize we are not going to make this. Okay, then we're going to push it back to Q3 2022. Give you a few more months. So you missed it, but you're missing it by a matter of months instead of don't give me a hard date and then push it. Hard date and push it. Say Q1, we're going to give you a hard date when we get closer. We don't want you to get too excited because we want to make sure that we can deliver the game that was going to bring you back to Bethesda and remind you of who we are and who we were.
And this is going to be a testament to see what they're doing after the big damage of them saying, okay, God, the fans literally sitting down and basically having a heart-to-heart with Bethesda and saying, what is this? What is this crap? What is this? You're still using the original Skyrim engine from 2007? guys, come on, move forward.
Right.
We get it. Skyrim is like one of the greatest RPGs of all time. You got to move forward from that point.
So if we get Starfield, let's just say early March 2022, so almost a year from now, and it releases, I am hedging a bet that we will not see Elder Scrolls 6 until 2026.
Yeah, I say you're right.
Because then that would be 4 years after Starfield. You will have had the first year of Starfield, and then the second year of, hey, there's updates, here's some DLC, all that kind of stuff. And then after you have 2 complete full years of Starfield, then you start wondering, okay, when's it coming out? By the time it actually does come out, it's going to be like 2025, 2026.
I got a funny comment.
Okay, comment away.
I bet Elder Scrolls 6 comes out before Star Citizen.
I bet it does. I bet it does at this point, man. The Star Citizen has become a running joke between me and Mike. And Biomutant was in there, and I would always kind of nudge that in as a little like low blow because I knew I knew Biomutant would come out. After
Prime, I'm concerned about.
So, on the other side, PlayStation, we have a few games. We already discussed Horizon. I feel like we're not going to get a release date until they're really sure. Until we know about Nintendo. I would not be surprised to see Horizon at the end of this year. Because I think we're closer to that. If you're talking about the next big Sony exclusive, I think that one's the closest. I feel like they've been working on that for a while.
I want to see Gran Turismo.
I think Gran Turismo will be coming, but I can't even predict to tell you when.
Yeah, should have a little bit of Ratchet and Clank again too.
Ratchet and Clank just came out.
Okay.
The new one just came out, and I'm not even sure what kind of reviews it got. But then we got the new God of War, which we haven't heard much about, other than it is actually going to be called Ragnarok. I guess that got leaked. And the news story came out like, oh, hey, it was a leak. It's got it's gonna be called Ragnarok. And then Cory Barlog, the guy that is directing that game, he just tweeted a gif of like Picard, like, oh god, like you guys are making news out of this. This is like, God, come on now. But no, we know now that FF7 remake was a exclusive for PS4. Now there's a new one coming out, a PS5 version, and the DLC for that, the Yuffie DLC, is exclusive to PS5 for at least 6 months. Now we know that FF16, the brand new Final Fantasy, is going to be exclusive to PlayStation to begin with.
It hasn't come out yet. It's June 11th.
Oh, for the new Ratchet?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it had come out in May, but I'm mistaken. So it's right around the corner.
So it'll come out right before.
Right for E3. But no. So the new FF16 is also going to be a PlayStation exclusive. That's a big get. That's a big get if you're PlayStation. But also they're making apparently the rumors are making a new Final Fantasy that is like set in the originals games for the NES, the original world. And it's going to be more of an action Souls type. And I feel like they're doing that. Okay. I'm not into it. I'll be honest with you. It's not my game. I barely got through Jedi Fallen Order. And the only reason why I did is because I like Star Wars that much.
I want to add something in here. What happened the last time they tried to change up their formula? You got 0.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible game. Terrible game. I couldn't even get past the beginning of it.
We'll see. I mean, we haven't heard much of anything. I've actually heard the very little I've heard more about 16. And if 16 is going to play like how they got 15 and FF7 Remake to play, I might actually be into it. But we'll see. We will see. Naughty Dog is working on something. There are rumors that another team in Sony is remaking the original Last of Us.
Yeah, I heard that.
And they're being overseen by Naughty Dog. And from what I understand, a lot of people were mixed about this. And they really were not happy to say like that game doesn't need a remake. And I kind of agree. It doesn't need one. But if they're wanting to make it look and have mechanics that are like in the second game to help make me feel more like one smooth story, like you were saying, to where like if you go back and play the first one after you played 2, it definitely feels, oh wow, this is a little dated now. It's still the same concept, but it's like, some of the mechanics are not quite there. And I get that. So if they're able to take the same cutscenes, the same voice acting, and just mold a new game around it, dude, you got me on board.
Yeah, just give me it, make it prettier, and fine tune those, because you don't even have to add anything to it. Just kind of tighten, because when you go from 1 to 2, it's really tight in 2. Like everything's very cohesive. It's smoother. Just take that, tighten up the original, give me a little bit better look. And then don't touch anything else. You better not touch anything else. No.
And see, I don't even want to make the actors have to go through it again and act out that stuff. Because, I mean, they really care about these characters, and I know that Druckmann does as well. Of course, he's now the co-president of Naughty Dog. And I kind of get the feeling that this is one of the reasons why they're doing this project is to really dive into the code and figure out their development stuff for the PS5. So that way they can really utilize their knowledge from that. That's what they did with the Last of Us remaster. They brought the team up like, okay, let's optimize this for the 4, and let's use what we learned to make Uncharted 4. And they did. And then they used what they learned from that, and they made Last of Us Part 2.
It worked good so far.
The
question is what are they working on that's new?
I don't know. And that is,
they've kind of rumored that like, hey, we want to do something new. We want to change direction.
And also Druckmann has said that him, and I can't remember the name of the gal who co-wrote Last of Us Part 2 with him, they did make a story outline for Last of Us Part 3.
I heard that.
The outline is there. They said they have a story outline. They don't have it dialed in.
Didn't they go to coffee or something and just sit at the table and talk about it?
Yeah, for a couple hours or whatever.
Yeah.
And they wrote down the outline of what they would kind of want the story to be about and where it would kind of go. And, of course, that would be fine-tuned later. And also, there is a deleted scene that didn't make Last of Us Part 2. It's not very much of one, but it's spoilers. Last of Us Part 2 spoilers. At the end of the game, she puts the guitar down, and the camera just zooms in slowly on the guitar and to the window, and you see her walking away. Where's she going? We don't know. What's ahead for her? We don't know. There was a scene that they never finished. They pulled it out because they decided not to do it, where she goes to the barn and finds one of the little baby's toys, puts it in her backpack, and she walks away. That kind of clues you into where she's going, because she's going to go find her girlfriend and the baby to try and see if she can salvage that, right? But they decided to take it out because they wanted that ending to be more open. They wanted you, the player, to feel like, where is she going? Where do you think she's going? Obviously, if they do a third game, we're going to find out where she's going. But it's almost kind of like the end of Mass Effect. Wow, I got my game down here. Last of Us Part 1, where it's the promise me, I promise. And that was the end. And you're like, now what? Well, what do you think happened after that? That is the end of this part of the story. And then your brain is like, I don't know where it goes from here. Well, so like there is some conjecture that now there's people online and there's some theories that she already went to Jackson on her way back and already met up with her girlfriend and baby and already had a talk, and that her going back to the house that we see at the end of the game is actually her going back there because her stuff is still there and she needs that final closure for Joel, not for what's going on elsewise.
Such a sad ending.
It is, but that's why it's real. Not everything is going to be super happy, and but for Sony, man, see, this is rough because for both major console makers, they have a shitload of people out there who have the consoles, but they have a lot of people who don't, and they have a lot of people who still want them. So then, I'm wondering if they're going that you still need to be pushing out the games that want people to get people to play them on the 5 and have them be great. But I think if I'm Sony, I am making it a mandatory that this game needs to be playable, not perfect. It needs to be 1080p and 60 or 30 frames on the Pro for the PS4 Pro. Whatever game it is, like I'm talking like Horizon, I'm talking like anything that comes out, like because there's going to be so many people who can't get their hands on a 5, not just because of money, but because of availability. And if I'm Sony, and Xbox is already doing this, but I would take that cue from Xbox. If I buy, say, Gran Turismo comes out, and on the PS5 it is just bonkers, because we know it will be. Visually, it's going to be bonkers. But if they're able to get it playing on the 4, and you can start on the 4, when you put that disc in the PS5, it's going to ask you, hey, do you want to download the PS5 version for free? Yeah, I do.
Before we move forward, I think at the end we need to go through and say what we want to see at each.
Oh, yeah, no. We
online presence.
We will.
Bow shout.
All right, so that's what we're going to go into right now. We are 2 hours into the podcast. Here at the end, we have reached the end of the podcast as far as I'm concerned. We have touched on lots, did a lot of different things. We're going to start back around. We're going to go back to Xbox. What do you want to see from Xbox?
They've got a couple of games that they've hinted at last time. I don't have the names offhand. I could probably look it up, but I definitely want to see some Fable. If you've got something for Fable, I want to see it.
Yep.
I want to know about the new Horizon game, or not Horizon, the new Forza game. There's no way that they're not making a new Forza right now.
Like a new mainline, not Horizon, new mainline Forza. Yeah.
Horizon 4 has been considered one of the greatest racing games of all time.
I agree.
No, they literally have said it's one of the greatest.
I agree with that assessment.
It's like
it's
amazing.
It's hard to disagree with it
because it's open world. I mean, how many games you got open world, but you still have your track, and it's arcadey, but you can kind of simulate. Do a good job. Anyways, moving forward. They need to, on a lot of these smaller developers that they've been picking up, I want to see what they've done with Xbox's money. So a lot of this stuff that they've talked about, we just picked up, so-and-so, Bethesda. What is your intentions? I don't need a showcase. I want them to give us a roadmap. I think that's the most important thing right now, because with the pandemic, everything that's going out, people, they're frustrated, they're upset, not because they can't get it, but because they don't know where we're going, because everything's kind of in chaos and turmoil. So I think that each company needs to send out. Xbox needs to say, hey, look, Halo, you got to hit on Halo right now. Show us why you pushed it back. You know what I mean? Like, they need to just, he needs to do what he normally does. Show me what your progress is.
I definitely agree with you for the most part on Xbox. Fable. I want to see the first look at Fable. All we know is that I believe it's Playground. Is that the name of the developer? They're making it, and they as we said, they hit it out in the park on Horizon or Forza Horizon 4. So this is a little bit of a different beast, but it doesn't mean that these guys are not going to be able to go in there and make a great game, a big open world game.
They did those before, so they did styles like Fable before Horizon, didn't they? I'm gonna look that up.
I think Playground has only been making Horizon.
I think you're right.
I think
I'm wrong.
I don't think they've made too many more, but with that, so I want to see the first look at that, and then with Bethesda, I want to see. I think Deathloop is going to be a PS5 as timed exclusive. So we'll probably see that with Sony because that did get delayed. But if they've got a new, I bet they've got something else brewing over there with Bethesda. I want to be introduced to Starfield.
Yeah.
I want to be introduced to it. I want to know what we're doing. We don't have I want to see basically the introduction. This is what the world is. This is what we're doing, and here's some gameplay. If it's further along than we think, and it's going to be coming out within at the end of this year, early next year, hopefully we can get some good gameplay out of it. And by the way, it's exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. I also think Starfield should release on the Xbox One, simply because of what I said earlier about availability. Because because if you buy Starfield on the Xbox One, if you have a One X, you're probably going to get 4K and 30 frames. That's fine, whatever. But
you're right. By the way, they have only done Horizon.
But then when you get that, it's going to have smart delivery, and you're going to be able to roll that right into the Xbox Series X to get 4K 60, and it's going to be great. And then of course the Game Pass. So as far as stuff for Xbox, I think that's about it that I really want to see from them. So then we're going to shift over to Sony. I want to see gameplay of FF16. We got to see just a tidbit of it, right? And that
Cinema.
reveal.
You only got to see some cinema.
Right. Well, and then there was some gameplay that was in there. I want to see give me a good just 7 minutes, 5
to 7 minutes play.
of gameplay, combat. Let me see this, and let me get more familiar with the world that you're trying to build here. And I think FF16 is going to be closer than we think also. I think that's going to be either at the end of this year or early next year. Again, things are just now getting to the point where workers are starting to go back into the office. And so, but they've been really surprising of how they've been able to complete RE8 and how they're able to get that done and out during everything that's going on. So while what we're going through is impacting some of these releases, I'm thinking we're reaching the point where they're really able to move the needle.
I think it helps that more people can now work from home.
Yeah.
So with this, they're realizing, hey, we all don't need to be in the same room or the same building. We could outsource stuff to other people to, because when you're upgrading all these consoles to being 4K, everybody's going to expect 4K content. So much more development has to go into the drawing of those, and it's insane.
So since we saw the Horizon gameplay already, I'm not expecting a huge thing for them there, other than that they would showcase something. And okay, you already saw 14 minutes. All right, here's about 5 more minutes for this cool thing that we want to showcase that's new, and that's really going to show, especially if they can say, hey, you know what, you buy it. This is how it's going to be if you play it on the PS5, because you're going to have this cool stuff with the controller that you can't do, this haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers, and then it's this. Oh, by the way, it's coming out November, blah blah blah.
Right.
The other thing that I would like to see is the first look, not just a tease, since they've already teased it. I want to see my first look at the new God of War, because I feel like that won't be coming this year, but they might be aiming for it next year. So even if this is just the first look and we're getting 5 to 6 minutes of some cinematic, we get an idea of where the story's going, and then we wrap it up right before it looks like we could. Don't even show gameplay. We don't need to see gameplay yet. Just hey, this is going to be really crazy next year, and you're going to see more of that, as we move along. But that's something great to look forward to in the PlayStation ecosystem. I'm hoping Gran Turismo, because I basically want a visual car pornography to be shown, because every time they show Gran Turismo, it the visual fidelity of that game is just, every time they show it, it's always just just leaves me in awe.
I'm I'm gonna let you finish before I go into that
I
one.
have one more because there's this big rumor coming out that the same people who did the remake of Demon Souls are working on another remake. So something I want to see, because this hasn't been confirmed by anybody, but I'm wanting it to happen so much that I'm willing it into existence. I want to see a reveal for the Metal Gear Solid remake.
Yeah.
And have that, and it's like, hey, we're a PlayStation exclusive. Like, you're not going to play this anywhere else but here. You remember Metal Gear Solid? You remember MGS1 on the old school PlayStation? You're going to play that remake here. And, there could be some other stuff. BioWare could potentially show something from Dragon Age. The next thing from BioWare that I want to see, after the success of the Mass Effect Legendary, I want to see them do that same exact thing with Dragon Age. And do Dragon Age 1 and 2 Legendary, do a upresing of Inquisition, and release release that. That way, when Dragon Age 4 is about ready to come out, and it's been all this time, and you can't play Dragon Age 1 and 2 unless you have a backwards compatible Xbox, and I think those are backwards, but don't quote me. I believe, but if you're on PlayStation, you're kind of left out in the cold, unless they put them on PlayStation Now as stream. Well, screw that. Do what you did with Mass Effect. Make them look pretty. And, maybe tweak some stuff with the first game or second, whatever. You don't have to do a whole lot, just to get people caught up on the story before you do 4. So I would agree. If I was BioWare, that's like, okay, you team that did Mass Effect, that was a great job. Now here's your new project. Go knock it out before. And if you can knock this out before we get done with Dragon Age 4, even better, because now all of our guys, all those gamers are going to be ready to play Dragon Age 4. And so that's it for PlayStation for me.
So for me, I would like to see quite a few things. I'm always going to say I want to see more Gran Turismo, but I just don't want to see the porn. I want to see gameplay. I want to see him. You know what? I am gameplay. Technically, it's considered gameplay. I want to see you go through the main menu. I want to see you select cars, because I don't want to see the crap you've been giving us the past couple of years. He said, we get it, gamers. We understand. You don't like this style. We'll go back to the original formula and give you what you want. I want to see that progress. You don't have to show me too much. Just say, career mode, boom, and then it shows like all the stuff from the original. It's like, okay, that would be cool. Mm-hmm. I want to see that. I think that we're going to get a release date for Horizon. I also think we're going to get a remake for Horizon. I think we're going to get an upresed.
That could be. I think they've released an update for it.
Did they? They already done that?
I think they did. I don't know. I do know that last month it was available for free for PS5 users.
So they might have.
They might. Okay. And Last of Us Part 2 just released a PS5 update that locks it in at 4K 60 frames. So there, okay. And I think Last of Us Part 2 does utilize it. I haven't even put it in and tried it. I've been playing other stuff. But if they can get away with just having a prettier looking Horizon, I think you'll be okay. Because it's not as old. Even though I had some issues with the controls, I didn't dislike it to the point where I'm like, I will never play this again. It just kind of bugged me. There's a difference between a pet peeve and an absolute psychotic hatred. Good old George Carlin
yeah.
quote for you there. But no, like okay, so I feel, and here's the way that I feel. I think there should be a difference between a remaster and an update. If a game really needs it, go ahead and do the work and let's reformat just like they did with the Mass Effect thing. They really went in and they made those graphics look really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to the point where, like, even if the gameplay feels a little bit dated, it graphically, and you could tell it's a bit old, but it looks pretty enough. But for something like Horizon or like even God of like God of War needs to have like a really just like a 4K 60 frame, and then I think it'll be fine. But that's me.
I think that we'll see. I would like to see some God of War. But there's been a lot of weird stuff going on. Like, we just got Lucasfilms just allowed them to remake or re-release Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start seeing more of a trend of that to try to fill in those voids. So as like you're talking about having a Metal Gear Solid remake, that would be amazing. I would like to see them PlayStation take some of their old, I'm going to say it. I say it almost every year. Where is my Legends of the Dragoon? You see the success. Open the door. The door's there.
Yeah, it's
open.
All you gotta do is open it.
You just gotta walk through it. Just gotta go through it.
Yeah.
Just take that leap of faith.
I
think
like
we're gonna see 7.
Do you think we're gonna see 7 Part 2?
I think we're gonna see where it's at, because 1, we know they're using the same architecture, the same everything. So they're changing nothing. They said they don't want to change anything. They want to take Part 1 and 2 and 3 and keep it on the same platform, move forward.
Sure.
I think we're going to see some of that because they've got a lot of those textures, all that stuff. They only have to make, like, Casa del Sol, all your new places.
If they do it, I think we get a tease and not so much of a full reveal, because if they're coming out, if the more imminent releases,
will UFB out?
Yes, that comes out right before it. Yeah. So therefore, you kind of tease at it and go, hey man, you might want to go get caught up, because we're making this Part 2, and it's now out available for PS5 owners as well with this Yuffie DLC, which you can only get on PS5. So you guys better go pick that up.
Thumbs down, by the way. To that. Thumbs down.
Man.
You have to understand, guys. You can't find a PS5. I'm looking. I ain't buying one for $700 from some freaking asshat that has a connection that can buy 50 of them at a time.
So, yeah, no, I do believe that Yuffie should be coming out for everybody, because I get it that this wasn't necessarily foreseen when they made this deal. Because what were they thinking? Okay, we need to have a little bit of a sprinkle on here to help us. Square, we're working really. Sony and Square are working really well right together. If they're releasing FF16, the next big major entry as a exclusive, when 7 Remake was announced as sort of an exclusive, okay, fine. That's where it was before. That's where we're getting it now. It'll come to other consoles and PC later. The same thing is probably still going to happen. But the fact that they're releasing the next major console iteration, the next numbered game as a temporary console exclusive for probably at least a year, is a big deal. So if they're going to add more salt to FF7, well, of course, like, hey, we need to move some more PlayStations. People come back a double dip. Or if you already own the PS4 copy on physical copy, you get the PS5 for free. All you got to do is pay $20 for the DLC. You're good to go. The issue is that supply problem is still not being met for the demand, and they're not readily available at walk-in stores still. And who could have, they probably had this deal in stone from when they made the original deal, right? The Square probably told them, hey, we're going to do like an extra content thing. And Sony's like, it'd be cool if we put that, our next console will be out by then. So we'll just have that exclusive for that for a while. And the Square's like, cool. And then everything in the world happens. I get it. I don't agree with it. I think, given the circumstances, just release it for the PS4 owners as well, instead of having to wait 6 months. Because really, at the end of the day, I'm looking at this Yuffie DLC as you've already had a really good steak. Okay? You already had a really good steak. Now it's like, man, do you like sauteed onions and mushrooms with your steak? I don't always need them. I don't always have them with my steak. But sometimes, man, you're just, you wrap up a little bit of that, you stick your fork in there, grab a little bit of onion, and stick it in the mushroom, stick it in that steak, and you eat them all, and it just melts together in your mouth, and it gives you that right flavor. I feel like this $20 DLC is not going to be make or break for the game, but it's going to introduce us to Yuffie, get her story started. We get to see where, even though we know her backstory, this is a chapter of her story we have not seen before, so it's almost all brand new to us. And we get to just see where she started off that we didn't see at the beginning of FF7, and to the point where she's going to be introduced in part 2 to the main party.
Personally, to me, I'm really upset that it's exclusive because, one, like I said, I don't have a Vive, so I'm really upset about that. But you get to see what happens from a different view. So, like, she's going to be there. It's already shown her standing there, staring with fire, like, watching this, essentially a plate dropping. It is a calamity there. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it murders thousands upon thousands of people. That'll be interesting to watch.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, and to update, I just saw the Xbox and Bethesda game showcase, June 13th. So it will be on a Sunday, and it will be at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
So we'll talk about that after.
Yeah. So guys, Nintendo. We touch on Nintendo.
Yes, Nintendo.
We'll hit Nintendo because we were talking Metroid Prime.
That's all I needed.
I want to see gameplay of Zelda Breath of the Wild Part 2. I want to see. They haven't done anything with Star Fox for a while, so it'd be neat to see a new Star Fox. I don't think they're doing anything with it.
Don't do the stupid Wii.
They won't. Get
it right.
You can't do that with a handheld. You'll drop it, and then you.
What, they did it with a gamepad?
Well, the gamepad was built like a Nerf mobile, man. You could drop that from a 3-story window.
Would you say it's built as strong as a Mako?
Almost.
With no boost.
With no boost. No, I would love to see a new Star Fox. I doubt we'll see it. We'll probably get like a next character update for Smash. They're still releasing, I guess, a couple characters for that. Would love to see the first look at like Mario Kart 9. Mm-hmm. We're probably going to see, since it's coming out, we have they've already released it, but the looks at it because they're up for pre-order, that the new Pokemon remake, but then the brand new Pokemon game that's like a big 3D game is like coming out in January. So I bet we'll see something new from that.
Already?
Yeah, it was that one that's set in that other. It's in that same realm as like Sapphire and Ruby, like whatever those games were. But it was a brand.
I haven't played or followed. Like, I really wanted to get it, and then I backed out.
Oh, Sword and Shield. Okay, so no, this next one is a big 3D entry, but it's like set in the past, like way back in the day. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of
the remake.
Well, the remake is the one for, I believe it's for Sapphire and Ruby. I believe that's the one, but people are a little disappointed with it because they really went like old school with it and didn't make it like Sword and Shield. They went like, hey, this is the new game, and it has like kind of a chibi look to it, so make it look a little bit more like a old school game. Which, I mean, dude, they're doing the remake of Dragon Quest 3. I told you about that 2D HD.
Yeah.
Oh man, it looks like Octopath and something like that. There's a new game they got coming out too. I can't remember the name of it now. But there's another tactics game coming out that it looks like Octopath, but it's a tactics style game.
I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I
can't remember what it's called either, but that looked kind of interesting. But a lot of cool stuff.
To be fair, I haven't really been keeping up hardcore with what's going on. So
see, and the thing is that for me, it's like a lot of just here. So sometimes I don't really feel like it's worth doing a full podcast on, you know. But it's just, you know what, we were here. We went 2.5. We're at 2.5 right now, and we talked for a while. And we're gonna get together after E3, after all the showcases are done, after we have seen what they have revealed versus what we wanted to see, and we'll talk about some stuff. Then we'll get our schedule lined up and pick weekend afternoon to sit down and talk about it or something like that.
Yes.
All right.
We will.
All right. Well, by then, hopefully, we'll have a few more indicators of when some new games are coming out this year. We currently, for this year, hey, there's a Call of Duty, I think. There's a Halo, I think. And that's about it that we know for sure. Oh, then the Pokemon in January. So we know a few things that are coming out, but as far as like big hitters, like I think it's hard to put a stamp on it, and they don't want to put a stamp on it just because of how things are and how they have to work and how close is it. Everybody's looking at Cyberpunk and how many times they moved it and when they released it, like they don't want to be Cyberpunk. Nobody.
Make sure your game is complete.
Make sure it's playable.
See, but I heard a lot of people say they didn't have any problems with it.
Okay, so by the time I actually picked up Cyberpunk, I got it on sale for $30, and I get the PS5 copy for free when it comes out. So it's not too bad of a deal for $30. When I played it for probably 2 nights, so probably a total of 5 hours. Didn't have a single crash, and I finally had a crash. I had a couple of gameplay instances, where the game messed up to a point where I had to reset a load. Just a couple. And it's not the most stable game. But for the most part, I would say a good 90% of my time with it was pretty good. I liked it. But I stepped away from it just because I only wanted to try it out and see how bad it was. And I was playing on the PS4 Pro at the time. I haven't even tried it on the 5 or for the backwards compatibility, because now my next experience, I want that to be on the 5. I want it to be the 5 version that comes out hopefully this year. And and by then, I'm hoping that a lot of the other stuff that are still wrong with the game, because, dude, they're still releasing patches for that original game, and that game is huge now. I didn't have enough room for it.
It's not going to be Call of Duty huge, is it?
Dude, by the time it comes out on PS5, it might not fit on a standard 500 gigabyte hard drive, which is good because the PS5 has like 800. But
are you sure there's another Call of Duty coming out? Because they just had Cold War come out.
I think there's a new one coming out this year, yeah. But we can talk about that. Well, we can kind of talk about that next time, whether there is or is not. Thank you guys for joining us here today on this podcast. We talked about a lot of stuff. We had a little bit of a long boy podcast, but well, since me and Mike did a podcast together.
It's true.
Oh, we're coming out with new Call of Duty?
Oh, no.
Oh.
You
were looking at your phone, and I thought you were double checking.
Put it down. Call of Duty 2021 confirmed.
All right.
YouTube video. So
well, from all that I knew that it would, there's one coming out, but we'll find out. But I'm sure if it is coming out, we're probably going to see it at one of the big showcases this year. One of those showcases we talked about, probably PlayStation, because that's what they've been doing. PlayStation will be like, here's this good Call of Duty.
Ooh, but I will say this. In May 5th, 2021, they announced that 2021 will have a new COD entry made by Sledgehammer Games, who created World at War II. Which was, or World War II, which is one of the big, that was the one everybody likes. That one.
Well, that was the one that it brought people back in. So,
World War II one was
a couple years ago. That was the one after Infinite Warfare, I thought, because they went to space and doing their Halo stuff, and then they brought it back down. Because
Modern Warfare was that one. That's the one I had. They have so many. He's like, wait, no.
Well, because you had Infinite Warfare, and then you had World War II, and then you had the new Modern Warfare, and then they did a Black Ops 3 in there somewhere. There's so many of them, but I'm sure we'll figure out.
Pulling up the list now.
I'm sure we'll figure out what they're doing with it.
I was right. Call of Duty World at War II was November 11th, 2008. They did that's the one I think that they no. Didn't they re-release one?
They did a remaster of the original Modern Warfare.
World at War, right?
Well, is it World at War or is it World War II? because those are two different games. People in the air are like, it's this one.
It's just World War II. Because the original Call of Duty.
Yeah, okay. So World War II was released in 2017, made by Sledgehammer Games. So then they had.
You talking about World at War?
No, World War II was released for the PS4 and Xbox One, and was the one that came out after Infinite War, and it is the first one to be set in World War II since Call of Duty World at War in 2008.
Oh, you're right. It has it in a weird way.
And this was after Advanced Warfare, and then Infinite Warfare, and then they did this one, and then there was somewhere in there.
My list is all like jumbled. Like they've got Black Ops as the top one, and then the original Call of Duty, then World War II.
Your list is all jacked up. But we're gonna end this show. We're gonna get out of here.
Yeah.
This show is over. We done. We're gonna talk about this stuff next time. So the next time you hear me, I believe I'm actually gonna record a deep dive on Mass Effect. I'm actually gonna compare the old Mass Effect and the new Mass Effect, and do a podcast about that. I'm not sure when that's going to come out, but I'm going to try and record that within the next week or so. And
that
then,
would be the review that you guys want to listen to know, because you have somebody who's in love with Mass Effect.
Yeah.
That's going to sit down, who knows the original game, who played hundreds of hours in the original game, to be able to compare what it is now.
Absolutely. And then after that, after E3, Mike and I will reconvene, hopefully with a buddy of ours, if we can convince him to come on. That would be awesome if he can make time for us. But we're going to try and do our yearly E3 kind of wrap up and review and see where things are going, because E3's back this year as a showcase. We didn't really have a lot. We had some showcases last year, all digital. So it's been a long year. We're seeing the end in sight. And it's on the horizon, Mike. It's on the horizon.
It is.
So until next time, I've been Brando.
And I've been Mike.
And this has been the Game Addicts Podcast. Check us out on all the podcasting platforms and all those places and social medias. I'm out of here. Game on. See you later, guys.